Okay, we are live. All right, playing some Sram Senior Artificer today. And today's deck list comes to us from Patreon supporter Spencer. Okay, yep. Kept an interesting opening hand that's mostly lands, but an Open the Armory, which seems cool. I think we can make it work. We are first in the turn order right here. There's a plains, play a plains, tap out and pass. And while we're doing that, I'm going to get the stream links posted everywhere that they need to be posted. So give me one moment. All right, got all that posted. Cool. So this is one that I'm interested to check out. I've seen a number of Shram decks. I haven't played one that's really well tuned. I played it years ago when it first came out, but haven't spent the time to like continuously keep playing it since then. So I'm always interested to see a deck that's just been played a lot of times, has gone through a lot of revisions, is really well tuned. That's when you really get a lot of the deck issues worked out, like having enough removal, making sure you have enough ramp, all that kind of stuff, your land count. So it's just a good thing to have all that stuff done. And yeah, I'm curious to see what this can do. This deck, a bit light on mana, but that's typical of a lot of Shram decks just because Shram is so cheap. He draws cards with like almost everything you play, so you just don't need as many lands as you would in other things. I would say when I took a peek at it that the mana ramp did look maybe a little bit light, and I would probably invest in a little bit of that. But that does also have the possibility to make things a little wild. Ooh. So opponent dropped down a Library of the Lang, and Gargos doesn't want to mess around with that, so they're just going to shoot it right off the bat with this Nature's Claim. Not at all interested in the Library of Lang. There's a Darksteel Plate. That's an equipment for us. That's good news. Play this Plains. Play Shram. And we'll pass like that. Greetings, Grev. Spencer's in chat with us, watching the deck in action. Yeah. So as far as mana for this deck that you can get, things that I would look at are it's not the cheapest, but what is it? Mox Opal, the one out of Dominaria. That spiked for a bit, although I think it's coming back down a little bit. No, Mox Amber. Mox Amber is the one from Dominaria. Mox Opal is also on the way down since it's been banned from Modern. I know they're expensive, but they definitely help the deck a lot. You've got like 40 artifacts, so a couple of those. Other than that, I'd probably just throw a few Signet-style mana rocks in the deck. Let's see if I still have the deck list up. I do not. Let's see if I can... Oh, there it is. Cool. Yeah, I'd probably get like a couple Signet-style mana rocks in the deck. I wouldn't go too wild. Just looking at it, I might try to trim out a couple 3-drops. 21 is a bit. Maybe under 20, get to like 18 or 19. I know it's going to probably have to go some tough decisions there, but like this Cultivator Caravan, that could easily be a Signet-style mana rock, a Mind Stone or something, but that's what I would do personally if it were mine. That does bring it back to our turn. Let's see, we had an Arcane Signet from opponent. Everyone else just taps out. There's a Reliquary Tower. Yeah, that's a good one to get into play. Play the Reliquary Tower. And I guess we're just going to play the Darksteel Plate right here. Get the card draw train started. It's another Plains. Awesome. We'll poke into the Gargos opponent. Gargos is pretty strong. Gargos is just really strong commander. So we'll send 2 their way. Start chipping in the commander damage. Yeah, unfortunately, white doesn't have like great early mana ramp. Like, everything's like get one land. It doesn't have burst mana. Like, green, you have like all of the dorks that tap for multiple mana, and those are all ridiculous, and those would be like really good for what you want to do here. So I think you're kind of left with like Signet style stuff or things that find a single land at a time, and like those are fine, but they don't blow you away. And I get it, this deck doesn't need like tons and tons of mana, but you still want a little bit above the whatever your lands per turn is going to produce. What do we got here? Psychic Membrane out of Chaotix. Defender, when it blocks, you may draw a card. Interesting. What's he playing? He's playing Ramos. Scratching my head already. We'll see what he's up to. Next up, we've got Kithron piloting Zerzoth Chaos Rider. Yeah, this thing's interesting. If they start doing the wheel thing or the like draw discard thing, hopefully we can pitch a couple lands and find some cool stuff, because we have more lands than we can like reasonably play right now. Could also be a reason for like Walking Atlas. Walking Atlas is surprisingly solid when you have a lot of lands like this. Although I suppose this is a land heavy draw. We're probably going to need a shuffle, honestly, because we seem to only be drawing lands. Play this Pretty Looking Plains. I say just equip this, and we can fire off the Open the Armory, actually. Let's... Should we spread it out or just keep poking the Gargos? We'll not be that guy. We'll spread it out. 2 to Kithron. Do that. Open the Armory. Gonna use it a little bit early. I don't always love to burn my tutors this early into a game. I'm kind of a wait and see kind of guy with tutors, but you know, we just needed to get an equipment. So won't be doing that today. Just gotta fire it off and find something that hopefully makes sense. Oh, I forgot to make that change. He told me to change something for a Dowsing Dagger, and I forgot to do that. Whoops. So, not going to be getting a Dowsing Dagger right here. Let's see. Green makes sense because of the Hydras, and there's probably going to be some Hydra issues. Something that gets evasion probably makes a lot of sense. Trailblazer's Boots could be interesting. Is there a Feast and Famine in here? There's a Feast and Famine in here. Feast and Famine's always really good. Yeah, I think it's Feast and Famine. I mean, that's the best equipment, right? Let's get a Feast and Famine. When in doubt, get a Feast and Famine. Someone said they never try to have more than 16 cards of a single CMC. Yeah, that's about right. For the most part, you really don't want to go over that. There are some exceptions when you talk about like CEDH style decks where everything is 3 mana or less. You might go over that, especially like 2 drops. But in general, normal Commander, 16 is about kind of the top of the mark. And there's some weird quirks to that too, like Night Tribal, Zombie Tribal. Some of the tribes have unnecessary amounts of like 3 drops because it's generally unsafe to print Lords at 2 mana. So, you know, you'll find that when you look at like tribal decks, they'll have higher than average 3 drops. And, you know, it's kind of the exercise of any effect that you can get somewhere else reliably, move that out of that converted mana cost. And sure, maybe you have 17, 18 3 drops in a deck, but, you know, try to minimize it wherever possible. You really don't want to have like, you start getting north of 20. That is a lot, especially on 3. You can do it with 2 mana just because 2 mana is very efficient. 3 is, you know, much harder to cast 2 things in a turn. So like I said, Cultivator Caravan, easy to replace in other slots. Some of these other things you may not be able to, like they may just be the only thing that exists. Yeah, like when you have the swords come up too. If you want a lot of swords in your deck, you're going to burn a lot of your 3-drop slots very quickly. So, you know, right now the only one I'm really seeing is the Cultivator Caravan, but even getting 1 less card in that slot I think is going to be helpful. Nope, there's a Light and Shadow. Light and Shadow's cool. So while we're doing that, Zerzoff into play, and Genesis into play. Yeah, Genesis is pretty cool. Do some wild things with that card. Let us play a Plains. Then I think we're dropping the Feast and Famine. Hope nothing goes wrong here. We'll draw with Sram. It's a Foundry Inspector. That's a cool card. I always want to try to get this into my equipment decks, and then I just never have enough room. Today's the day. Today's the day we finally get to play it. Equip the Feast and Famine. Swing into the Hydra opponent. Do we have Vigilance from something? Why didn't this tap? Vigilance. What's giving Vigilance? Oh, KO put a Vow of Duty on it. That's why. There we go. Found the Vigilance. Also getting some additional power. KO messing with the vows today. He mentions that Caravan is in there because it's a mana rock that draws a card. Oh, right, vehicles. Yep, forgot about the vehicles. Vehicles do trigger the card draw. Okay, I get what you're at now. I see what's going on. That does make sense. Okay, main phase 2. Let's see, if we play the Foundry Inspector, we could drop down the Light and Shadow. Yeah, let's do it. Hope no one has mass artifact removal. I think that's the plan with this deck, right? If someone has it, you're in trouble. So play the Foundry Inspector, play the Light and Shadow, draw another card. It's another Plains. Awesome. Can't wait for the Zerzoth to go attacking. Hopefully we don't discard the Balin. Someone says they have a Cheerios-style Sram build. Yeah, I've seen a few of those. The Auras one, the equipment version of this deck is pretty expensive because the swords get astronomically expensive. But if you want to go the Auras route with this deck, I think that's actually a pretty cheap deck to put together because most of those Auras are draft fodder. So you can find them pretty cheaply. You can probably even find them in foil pretty cheaply. I've used one or two. Oh, what was the one? There's one that it's 1 mana and opponents can't activate abilities unless they pay 3. And that's a pretty useful thing if you're at a really strong table. You kind of get into the near CEDH level of decks where it's, someone plays a Selvala and the goal is 100% to make infinite mana with that Selvala. So stuff like that. And you just drop it down there for 1 mana. It's pretty sweet. Someone wonders if white could have a mana dork that works only if someone controls more lands than you. I talked about it in the Hawk video. Someone made mention about the Hawk video a while back in the chat also. But the problem is that white kind of needs to get away from the more lands than you text because it means that you can never get ahead. As a white deck, you should at some point be able to get ahead of your opponents on mana ramp if you're doing all the right things. You're I'm going to jam a bunch of mana ramp cards in my deck, and I should be able to get ahead on mana ramp. With the fact that they keep putting that text on cards means that, you're still always just going to be behind the green player because they stop working if no one's ahead of you. So I don't love that. I get it. It's the text that's on a lot of white cards, but they already have so much of it that I'm I don't really want to see any more of that text. And that's why Smothering Tithe is the greatest white ramp card because you can actually get ahead of your opponents. Aside the fact that it also just makes a lot of mana. But, if Smothering Tithe stopped, if opponents couldn't keep up with that mana production, I don't know what that wording would look like, but just in my mind, I'm well, if it stopped making treasure tokens equal to the number of lands that opponent has, it wouldn't be nearly as good. So, that's the thing. While I was talking, someone fired a shenanigans on our Feast and Famine. Feast and Famine down. Makes me sad. Nate, all about that 3-drop life. Wants to play as many 3-drops as he can. Yeah. Rex Sage and everything else. Any 3-mana creature that ETBs. That's Nate's wheelhouse. Body and Mind is an interesting sword. I've used it. You know what's really good? It's actually really good in 1v1 commander because the body is much more relevant. Milling someone is not always the best if they have Eternal Witness in hand. You're just helping them. But there are times, like I've talked about it, blue combo decks want their combo in their hand, not in their graveyard. Green and black decks generally use their graveyard pretty well, so they don't care as much. So yeah, Body Mind's an interesting sword. It's, I think it takes a lot of heat, but it's actually not as bad as people think. The 2/2s are relevant, especially if you're playing like a token style deck and you've got things that double the tokens. I think it's reasonable. It's not going to blow you away, but it does pump up a creature. It gives it protection from 2 very relevant colors. So all good stuff. We run to a Sigarda's Aid. We're a little light on equipments now. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to like keep the cycle of stuff going here. Play planes. Equip the Light and Shadow. I guess we poke into the Devils. I think that's what we're doing. Yeah, I think that's what we're doing. Okay. Swinging a Kithron. We'll send this into Chaotix. See if he wants to block. He can draw a card if he wants to. There's a Door of Nothingness in his graveyard. That's always scary. KO just playing Door of Nothingness make you lose the game? Is that what's going on? Light and Shadow will trigger. No targets, so we'll just gain some life. Up to 43. I don't know, I'm kind of saving this Balin for a board wipe, so I think we'll just go for Sigarda's Aid right here. And pass like that. Okay, I was going to get a draw with Phyrexian Arena on the upkeep. Someone says there's a few auras that aren't super cheap. Yeah, what's the one? Like, is it Angelic Destiny or something like that? That's surprisingly expensive. There's probably a couple that are some of those old ones out of like Urza's might be also, but in general, yeah, Angelic Destiny, Battle Mastery. What's Battle Mastery at? Is that an expensive card? Looks like some enchantment stuff going on. Eidolon of Blossoms. I have no idea what's going on over there. Someone said maybe Goads and Vows. Maybe. Try to get a price check on Battle Mastery over here. Battle Bond. 25 cents. All right, yeah. Maybe it wasn't cheap at one point. Check the Lorwyn one. No, it's been under $1. Anyway, Angelic Destiny. Pretty expensive last time I looked. Let's just see. It is Magic 2012 and Mystery Booster. Mystery Booster probably helped. $5 now. $20 at one point when it first came out. Or that's the Mystery Booster one. Still. Yeah, that's not cheap. There's an Outpost Siege for opponent. Oh, Weathered Wayfarer. Yeah, Weathered Wayfarer is not a cheap white card. That thing was about $10 last I looked. Talking about pacifism effects with Sram, yeah, pacifism effects are really good. There's a bunch of them, especially if you can find the ones that stop activated abilities, because there are a lot of commanders that have very abusable activated abilities now. Devil's opponent going on the attack, doing some stuff. Oh no, they loot our Nahir. Oh, well, that was how you get the sword back. I'm not getting the sword back anymore. That sucks. 4 lands in hand and it hits the Planeswalker. Sounds about right. Raid Bombardment triggers a bunch of times. Cavalcade of Calamity. Should probably read all this stuff. Whenever a creature you control with power 1 or less attacks, deals 1 damage to that player or Planeswalker that it's attacking. It's pretty good. Pretty good in that deck. Someone asked, I play a lot of Voltron. Who is my favorite Voltron commander? They play a lot of Sir Gwyn. So I like Sir Gwyn. Sir Gwyn does have some issues. Namely removal. Spot removal is the problem against Sir Gwyn. I still like Aurelia the best because Aurelia handles the early game much better than Sir Gwyn does, in my opinion. I don't know why. Like, theoretically, I could run the exact same cards in Aurelia in Sir Gwyn, and I just like the feeling better on Aurelia for some reason. It's something to do with the extra combat. Just makes me feel much better about closing the game out, getting the Sword of the Animus triggers, getting Mask of Memory triggers, all that stuff. Like, Aurelia can generate so much value through combat. That's a thing that's hard for me to give up on. Who else have I played Voltron? I've played Sir Gwyn. I mean, God, I can't even think of them now. I know I've played many, many Voltron decks, but those are the 2 that kind of bubble to the top. Basically anything that's got like double strike or, lots of keywords on it is probably going to be a pretty good Voltron commander. One of the things I did notice with Sir Gwyn is the mana base was like pretty hard to manage. Even with a bunch of fetch lands, the Knights have like all double white in their cost. The good mana rocks are colorless, and it's tough to balance out that mana base in a way that's like really satisfying. It felt slow. Not having natural haste on Sir Gwyn, I felt like was an issue. Even when I ran a bunch of haste equipments, I just wouldn't draw them early in the game, and that could be kind of frustrating. But there's other stuff too. I haven't touched so many of the aura-based Voltron decks. You think about like Ural the Miststalker. That's still a pretty good deck. That deck will destroy you in a hurry. And there's a few other ones. Who's the Bant one? Can't think of the name of it right now. The Bant one's pretty good. That'll run you over super quickly. It kind of just depends on what you want to do. But I'm still Team Aurelia. I think just the amount of value that you can generate is really kind of what separates her from the rest of the pack, I think. And the fact that she has like everything you want. She has 2 combats, and she has evasion built in and haste, which is just really good for rebuilding and all that kind of stuff. Brings back to our turn. We draw some Trailblazers Boots. Play a Plains. Play Trailblazers Boots. Oh, it's got cost reduction. We get to draw a card. Ooh, single combat. That's one that I've been interested in trying out. Looks decent for Voltron style decks. Haven't had a chance to use it yet. Oh, you know what's interesting? So because we have Light and Shadow on here, we can't target Sram with Sigarda's Aid. Just noticed that. So we'll use the ability to get the free equip boots onto the Foundry Inspector, but that's not going to matter. We're just going to move the boots over here. We'll pay 2. We've got a 4/4. It's indestructible. There aren't like a lot of places to go in this moment. Well, we've got the Trailblazers boots. All basics right there. That's not helpful. I guess it's KO's turn to take a punch. Can't get through the Hydras in this moment. Although, are we leaving ourselves? Are we not attacking? That's an 8/7 with Vigilance. It's pretty big. I think we're not attacking. Ugh. That seems awful. Feels terrible. Hate not attacking. So I think we're passing like that. Yeah, losing that Nahiri. Don't love that. Anyway, finishing up on the Voltron thought. At one point I was in the process of doing like an intro to Voltron type video. And I don't know, maybe that'll happen at some point. But one of the things I looked at is just like, you want two things when you talk about a Voltron commander. You want lots of keywords and size. Those are kind of the things. And it was kind of like I had a sort of a priority of the keywords that you want. Anything that says double combats, double strike, that's going to be like kind of in the top priority of things that you need to get on your, if your commander doesn't have it, those are the things you want to get immediately. And the other thing is evasion. So, Aurelia having both of those built in, I think just really makes her super, super strong. Sir Gwyn actually does have a little bit of evasion with Menace, but it doesn't have like natural double strike or natural double combat. So, but yeah, kind of had a little video putting together on that when I get a rainy day. Maybe we'll finish that up. Someone says, Champ says, look at that door to nothingness. Yep, just chilling there. I wouldn't be surprised if it finds a way back into his hand and or onto the battlefield. Tie him about that 3-drop life? Yep. Abzandex love their 3-drops. There's a demonic tutor. Oh boy. Someone asked about Sword of Truth and Justice. Sword of Truth and Justice is the one that I wouldn't just jam into any deck. I would try to put it in a deck where it makes sense. If you have some sort of like plus counters on it, planeswalkers to proliferate, something to do with the proliferate ability, then I would look at Truth and Justice a little bit more. It's not going to be bad ever. Again, it's protection from 2 colors. It's a lot of spot removal in blue and white. So it's not that it's going to be awful, but if you're talking about like best in slot situations, I would really try to put it with something that's got plus counters or planeswalkers, anything that can use the proliferate ability. But, even if you just have like a small creatures deck, someone mentioned the like Tyam. Tyam is a deck full of 3-drops. Those 3-drops are not typically very good in combat. The second someone like us or this Gargos shows up at a table, your creatures look very small. Something like a Truth and Justice gives you a little bit of an edge in combat against certain colors, obviously, so you can actually get some damage in, maybe get some sword triggers, do some stuff like that. So it's not that it's awful, but I wouldn't consider it to be the best either. Honestly, get yourself a Sinew and Steel. Sinew and Steel is really cool. That I would just jam in any deck, regardless of like whether it has tons of synergy or not, because blowing up artifacts and planeswalkers is super cool. Here comes Zerzoth into play. Just moved into college today. Congrats. That was a very long time ago for me. It's been a long time since I went to college. Said thank you for the quality videos. You're welcome. Champ mentions Flicker Form as a very cool aura. Yeah, that's one that I should look at, actually. I think I have one in a binder somewhere. Maybe it got traded, I don't know. Zerzoth going on the attack again. Bunch more triggers. Let's hope we discard a land this time. Because last time we got punished pretty hard. I've been punished pretty badly on most of these Zerzoth triggers so far. Like, it has not been kind to me in the 3 or so games that I've played against Kithron. We draw Golem's Skin Gauntlets. And what do we discard? Discard of Plains. All right. Spencer wants the new Nahiri to be mono white and deal with equipment. I just want it to be powerful. Yeah. Mono white could use a powerful value generating commander. Like if this were 4, this would be fantastic. At 5, it's a touch slow. Also, why is it so hard to get to the ultimate on this thing? I don't think I've ever seen this thing ultimate ever. It's so difficult to... Now, there's a lot of incentive to like use the minus on it, which is part of it, but like it is many turns to be able to ultimate this thing. You can't exactly doubling season it either, so... we've got a devil coming our way. I guess we're going to block it. Probably going to lose our Foundry Inspector in here somewhere. Seeing some devils getting blocked. The Movie Watcher says one of the better new Voltron commanders is Cathril because you get a bunch of good creatures in the 99. Haven't tried that one yet. It's on the to-do list. I know that Patreon's voted for that one a while back, but I've been super busy trying to get to that video. Also on my to-do list, but yeah, it kind of holds true to the keywords are good for Voltron decks, and I am all about the keywords. Someone says they remember ultimating with Nahiri when the precon came out, but things were a lot slower then. Yeah, the format has changed a whole lot in 5 years. Oh, that Outpost Siege is on Dragon's mode, by the way, so whenever a creature dies, it's going to be more damage. Luckily for us, we do have Indestructible, but somehow our Foundry Inspector made it through all that. That will melt the life totals. Take stock of what's going on over here. So we got Genesis in play. We got Ronas. Ronas is a very good card. And then we've got Gargos, which is also a very good card. Appears to be goated from something. Martial Impetus. Yep, there it is. Okay. Yeah, that's why I held Sram back, because I thought that we might be on the hook for some Gargos damage. Now, they could still attack into the Devils, but we'll see which way they want to go. It's actually safer, I think, to go our way. Less likelihood that it dies. Spencer said he put Skullclamp back in the deck because of the rule change. Yeah, I mean, I think Skullclamp goes in like probably every mono white deck now, because that's probably your best source of card draw. It probably just goes in a lot of other decks where it wouldn't have gone previously, because that the death rule change is huge. And, you know, if you just need some extra cards, mono red also, which, you know, you have these Outpost Siege type stuff, but it's actually hard to just get like more cards in your hand with red other than playing wheels. And Skullclamp makes a lot of sense there too. Here comes a Primordial Hydra. Oh, with an Unbound Flourishing. Whenever you cast a permanent spell or a spell that contains X, double the value of X. Yep. Yeah, that's good. Oh no, so it doubles permanents and it copies the spell if it's a instant or sorcery? Yeah, it's a copy. It copies it if it's an instant or sorcery. Pretty ridiculous. Primordial Hydra X8. Is that going to be 16? Or is that already doubled? No, okay, so it comes in as X8. That was after the doubling. There's a Hydra Omnivore. That's also a really good card. Might be time for this single combat. Someone asks, they said that they're a new Boros player in Commander. What are some tips for the color combination? The big thing is you need to generate value. Like, damage is attractive, and there are many Boros cards that do damage. You don't need that many of those. Like, you need a couple good ones to close the game out. The key is really generating value. That's going to be like Sword of the Animist, Mask of Memory type stuff, Dowsing Dagger. Making sure that you're keeping up with ramp and card draw. With the rest of the table. And it's not that you need to be leading in those categories in ramp and card draw, but you still don't want to be like super far behind. You know, if you can at least ramp a little bit, then, you know, you just need enough mana to make the plays that you need to make. You don't need to have more mana than everyone at the table. Sometimes you will if you're playing Aurelia with Sword of the Animist, but yeah, so generating value is super important. That makes Sun Titan like one of the single best cards in the colors because, you know, you just fetch land, get back fetch land as many times as you possibly can. The big trick, though, is if you're playing a non-combat Boros deck, that's where it does get a little bit tricky. It's not as easy to solve those problems. I was thinking like the Gisela burn deck that I played somewhat recently, any of the burn decks. If you're not planning to attack very much, Sword of the Animist, Mask of Memory, lose quite a bit of value, and that makes it tricky to get that card draw and to get that ramp, and you really got to be creative at that point. So, yeah, but the big thing is you need to generate value early, just like any other deck would want to, and then use big things that do lots of damage. Don't try to get damage out of your like 1, 2, and 3 drops. There are a few random exceptions in there, like who's the Taurine Mauler is a 3-drop that will give you absurd amounts of damage, and that's totally cool. But who's the one? There's a classic example, like a Crowan Hoplite is our equipments have flash, don't they? Okay, yeah, we'll play the Golem Skin Gauntlets. Well, just noticed that we could do that. Whoops. Hey, it's free. Cool. Yeah, so like a Crowan Hoplite is an example of a card that like I wouldn't recommend running that. And it's not that you can't run it, and it's not that it's a bad card, but it's just that conceptually it's a 2-drop that like its only thing that it does is do damage. I would much rather have a Remorseful Cleric, which is going to do less damage than the Hoplite, but is going to exile someone's graveyard. The other thing too is having a lot of good removal. Boros has good removal, so you want to use that as much as possible. Austere Command is a crazy card. Having a little bit of graveyard exile, Remorseful Cleric, is good stuff. I'm finding that Mob Rule is just an insane card. Mob Rule wins games. So I stumbled onto that recently. I'm like, maybe I've overthought Aurelia for like most of my life, and you just need to play Aurelia with Mob Rule, and that's the game. Ooh, that's another land. No. How are we drawing so many lands? There's like 34. Oh, God. Play Plains. I mean, I don't think we survived that, so I think it's single combat time. Play single combat. My first look at this, pretty excited about it. I think it's perfect for this deck. Any Voltron deck, really. I think it's going to have a pretty good home. What is this? Choose and sacrifice the rest. Choose a creature. Sacrifice the rest. Choosing Sram. Spencer says, Sigarda's Aid, borderline unfair at 1 mana. Yes and no. It's very good, but there's a big timing restriction on it, which is that this needs to be in play before you get your equipments. So, like, in my mind, that makes it good. It doesn't make it, like, broken. Now, in Modern, there was that deck that just steamrolled everyone for a little while. So, you know, when you can run 4 copies of it, that seems pretty good. But, yeah, for Commander, because of the, 99 card singleton thing, it's fine. It's good. You know, sometimes it'll do some really crazy things for you, but there is that downside. If you draw it late after you played all your equipments, then it does literal nothing. So I'm fine with it at 1 mana. I don't think it's oppressive, but it does cool things. Bunch of triggers. We got some Devil triggers. We got some Outpost Siege triggers. Let's see what's getting shot. Looks like a few of them are going to the Gargos. Yeah, Gargos is like unbelievably strong. Cost reduction of 4 on like most of the creatures in your deck is absurd. And if that wasn't enough, it will fight your creatures and kill them. Maybe too many abilities on there. Maybe they needed to drop the fight ability, because I think that does make it like a bit ridiculous. It's also like super aggressively costed. So we got a bunch of Devil triggers. Someone says, too hot, call the police and fire Sram. I don't know what any of this means. See if this Gargos is going down. Got enough devil triggers? Yeah, it goes down. Nice. Is this one damaged any target? Yeah, that's damaged any target. And looks like they got a couple for our face. That seems fair. We did just do the table a favor, though. Oh, also that damage versus value thing that I was talking about earlier. Golem Skin Gauntlets is a perfect example of this. This card only does damage, and I probably wouldn't run this anywhere outside of a Sram deck because, you know, there's always that potential that someone's going to play an artifact board wipe. You draw this late, it's going to do nothing. Like, it gives you +1/+0. It has no ability to generate value of any kind, and it literally only gives you size. So, in general, this is the thing that you want to avoid for Boros decks, probably most mono white decks also. You know, any of these other equipments give you abilities. Here's evasion, here's a whole bunch of really good things, and here's indestructible. Those are good. In general, that's more important than size, and especially this size is very conditional and relies on other permanents being in play. In this deck, it works because it gives you an extra card draw, and it's cheap. It's cheap to play, cheap to equip, so, you know, it makes sense here. But for the most part, I stay away from cards like this. I would much rather have a Sword of the Animist, a Dowsing Dagger. Those will do much more for you in the game than a Golem Skin Gauntlets will. You know, but having one or two things that are just kind of like the big hammer that closes stuff out, usually it's Blackblade Reforged. Blackblade Reforged gives you that size that turns anything lethal. Luxodon Warhammer is another one. It's not like crazy amounts of size, but the size, the trample, and the lifelink are all very, very good together. So, you know, just a little tip that generating value is generally better than damage until you're actually planning to end the game. So you need, like, you know, a couple big damage cards and then a whole bunch of things that, like, either generate value or are removal or ramp or whatever the case is. Nate said, my hatred of green knows no bounds, and I love it. I mean, okay, yeah, we did put him the 16 commander right there, but he's fine. He's got at least another hit in him. But, I mean, it's Gargos. Like, did you see that Hydra army? That Hydra Omnivore will destroy the tables super quickly. And then he also had the other one. Was it this one? Was it an 8/8? Yeah, that was just a lot of damage. Ronas. Ooh, actually, that got rid of Ronas. Ronas is indestructible, so how about that single combat right there? Loving that. And there's more text in here. Players can't cast creature or planeswalker spells until the end of our next turn. That's so good. So, like, they can't even recast their commander. Now, I could see a situation where, like, you could lock yourself out of your own commander with this through a confluence of events, but, you know, in general, there's a lot of upside here. This thing's like 25 cents, so if you're building on a budget, I have used this in some budget builds, and looks reasonable, so pretty happy about it. Oh, that's an impetus. Impetuses are bad. Means we can't attack KO until everything else is dead. How many kittens did I spontaneously birth when I saw the box topper swords of X and Y from Double Masters? Yeah, I was pretty happy. So I have mixed feelings on some of the arts. Some of the arts are cooler than the others. I really like this era of sword art for the swords where it's literally just the sword. One of my critiques about Magic art of late is that the art is too busy. There are so many things going on that, like, you know, you have this incredible piece of art jammed into the size of a thumbnail. Like, you lose a lot of the detail. And yes, the artists do, like, amazing work and a lot of cool things, but when you shrink it down to like 2 inches or whatever this is, you know, simpler is better. So I really like this era of sword art. because it's literally a hand and the sword, and it's nice and clear, and I feel like it's just, I don't know, I really like everything about it. Here's Feast and Famine. You know, it's just like, it's a background, it's a hand, it's a sword. Cool. Some of the newer ones, there's a lot going on in that art, and it is a very cool piece of art, but it does subtract from the sword a little bit, and you know, it kind of just proves that theory of like, there's too much going on in Magic card art these days. Oh, hey. So he dredges the shenanigans and shoots our Light and Shadow. Light and Shadow down makes me not super happy. That is a good way to get attacked, sir. Maybe on the hook for some Sram attacks. I suppose he doesn't really have that much else that he could do, so that's the thing. Going to send 4 our way. Hopefully we loot a land. There's a Heavenly Blade Master. That's kind of a cool card. I do like Heavenly Blade Master. Little clunky at 6. Wish they made it 5 mana. All right, we discarded Plains. Discarded Plains. Loving that. So in general, yes, I'm very happy that they reprinted the swords because the cost on them is absurd. As far as the new art, I'm lukewarm on some of them. Some of them are better than others. I think Fire and Ice was okay. I think War and Peace was a little crowded. I have to look at the other ones. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but I'm poor this year, so I'll just be getting the regular ones just to have a couple extra copies lying around. I am currently hamstrung on the number of Boros decks that I can build because I have no additional copies of Fire and Ice or Feast and Famine. So I'll be happy to try to get my Akiri Bruce deck back together in paper. Have I looked at Sanctuary Blade? No, I got to look at that one. Give me one moment. So many new cards this year, I really can't keep them all straight. I'm sure I've seen them all one time, but it is very hard to remember them. Sanctuary Blade, Commander 2020. What do we got? It's loading very... There it is. 2. As it becomes attached to a creature, choose a color. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has protection from the last chosen color. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's 50 cents. So can't go wrong for that. Protection from colors is very useful. You know, if you were building some sort of like budget Voltron deck, you didn't have access to the X and Ys because they're really expensive. Yeah, I'd run a Sanctuary Blade. I wouldn't run it over one of these because there's still a lot of value attached to these. But the ability to choose the color is actually really cool because, like, one of the things with the swords is they get much better if your opponents are playing the colors of that sword, but that's not a thing that you can necessarily plan for. I don't typically run Light and Shadow a lot of the times because I find the decks I play that the reanimation ability isn't the most useful on it. So because of that, I don't run it, but there are times where having Pro White and Pro Black is really good. So, yeah, Sanctuary Blade, totally legit, especially if you're running a budget. But the ability to choose that color is super, super helpful. You could also do something with that if you're playing like a burn deck and you're planning to run like a lot of Blasphemous Act type stuff. You know, you've got like Iroas, you know, sort of like another way to get sort of that Iroas effect if you just want to burn everything under the sun, except not burn your own creatures. That's a way that you can go about doing it. So, yeah, cool little card. Opponent says so. Someone in chat said, Someone in chat says so much blue text on Sram. We'll give everyone a little update. So it is goated. It's a commander. It's indestructible. It has non-basic land walk. It attacks a player other than Chaotix if possible, and then it has its natural text and is currently a 7/4. There's a rampant growth for opponents. Still can't cast creatures. Ha! Single combat, baby. Again, it's really bad if like they shoot your commander on the way out. They have like a swords or a path or something. Someone said the new Light and Shadow looks really nice. I gotta look that one up. Let's see. Pass. I'll do that in a moment after I take my turn here. Someone asked about Mangara. Yes, I think Mangara is very good. I haven't seen it a ton yet. I've seen it a few times. I've seen it mostly in the command zone. Haven't seen it in the 99 of decks, but I think you're probably always going to draw at least a couple with it, on, with the exception of the time where they just immediately shoot it the second it hits play. But yeah, in general, I think it's a very good start for white. It's powerful with like no real downside. Just it has a condition that 2 things need to attack, or 2 spells in a turn. Not that hard to meet that condition, so I think it's pretty good. Let's see. We've got a Heavenly Blade Master. We got a Balin. I think we just go Basilisk Collar. I don't know. I think we take Mock out here, because Gargos is dumb, and he's got this double thing out, which is even more ridiculous. So just any creature he plays will be unstoppably huge. But yeah, I'd like to see more cards like Mangara. Looking at, what was the one from a few years ago, was the cat. Oh God, what's his name? Alms Collector. Alms Collector was almost really cool. They just made it a little bit too narrow. Like, the problem is that Rhystic Study and Mystic Remora are very serious cards, and it doesn't do anything against those. If they made a version of that card that interacted with those cards in some way, I think you'd have a very good card right there. Just kind of that problem of it missed like the 2 most common type of things with it. Now, still great for wheels and other stuff, but if they made it like, if opponent draws a card that isn't during their draw step, you get to draw a card too. That'd be pretty sweet. That'd be pretty sweet. Which would still be less powerful than Narset. Or they could just make a white Narset. I'd be down for that too. Someone said they just finished Akiri Bruce. Very sweet. I've got a lot of testing I want to do with that deck. There's a lot of like new strategies that have popped up for Akiri Bruce. The Molten Steel Dragon one I think is hilarious, but it is super glassy. So the question is, do you build around that, and really try to protect it as much as possible, or do you start going on like the Underworld Breach plan and start looking into some of that as kind of a secondary win condition? And this is kind of for like very strong decks where you're expecting people to kind of combo off by like turn 6, turn 7. Kind of figuring out what's really good in that space. If you're playing at a power level lower than that, just Voltron all day and suit it up and hit things really hard. But the question is really like, what am I going to use to destroy Josh Laquai? That's really the question. Whatever value nonsense he's trying to pull, I want the version of the deck that answers that. Anyway, so our thing gets free equipped. We draw a Mask of Memory. I like Mask of Memory. You know what? We might wait on that just one moment. We can play it with Flash, so that is very cool. Check the chat real quick. People talking about single combat in chat? Yeah. Going to combat. Does this list have the Bludgeforged... Oh my god, I can't talk. Does this list have Bludgeforged... I can't say it. Bloodforged Battle Axe. There we go. It does not. It does not. It is a cool card. It is a little bit tricky. You almost need the hammer. You need like a hammer or a Pure Steel Paladin. Sigarda's Aid would also work, I think, right? Is that ETB? Yeah, it's ETB. You need one of the free equips to really take advantage of Bloodforged, because it just eats your mana. But it is a cool card. At this point in the game, it would be very good. Early on, it's a little awkward. Kind of goes back to that thing I talked about earlier, too. It is a card that only does damage. For the most part, it'll also increase like artifact count and metalcraft count, but it doesn't give you any additional value beyond that. But as far as things that do damage, it is solid. It's not the best. Blackblade Reforged, probably still the best in that category, but... Are bad things about to happen to us? Opponent tapping some mana. Waiting with bated breath. See what they've got going. They are going to return to nature our Golem Skin Gauntlets. Okay, Gauntlets going down. We need 5 damage to be able to take them out of the game. We've got 4. That being the case, we'll just attack the Devil's opponent then. Shooting our swords. Yeah, we could put him to 20. I don't know that 20 matters that much. Could also, you know what, though, we got a Mask of Memory. Yeah, we got the Mask of Memory. We need to draw. Need to draw the cards. Ooh. KO gets the Scry too? It's pretty good. I'm jealous. We need to play this Mask of Memory. Draw a card. Someone asked what mono green commander they would recommend. Mono green Selvala is like just the most ridiculous thing imaginable. Marwyn is very close on that scale of ridiculousness. Goreclaw is very powerful. Doesn't have to be insane, but can be insane if you wanted to. My vote is for Goreclaw if you want something that's like powerful. It's pretty generic in what it does. It doesn't push you into any specific path, but I just think it's a cool card. It makes things big and trampoly. It's a lot of cost reduction. Just a great card if you want to build like mono green ramp. What's the other one? Who's the dinosaur? Galta is also just cool. You can do a bunch of things that size matter. Make size matter. So, those are kind of my votes for mono green commanders. Gargos is actually also really cool, just that you need all the Hydras. I have been trying to put this deck together in paper. All of the Hydras, which you kind of expect to be like draft chaff, are like $3 or $4. So it does actually make the deck a bit more expensive to put together than I would have imagined. I think a lot of them are mythics, kind of going through like all the random like core sets through the years. So yeah, that does make them not the cheapest things ever. Opponent's going to take a hit for 4, go to 20 commander damage, right on the edge. Multani is a fun green commander, someone points out. Yeah, Multani's ridiculous in that it just keeps coming back and is huge. And I think it also is, reach? So my usual game plan of put flying on things does not work great against Multani. Someone said that Dana Roach from EDH Rec has a good Recce deck. I've seen Recce, and I've been destroyed with it in the past. It can be very strong if you want it to be. Ayula is very cool. I would say that Ayula, at least the versions I've seen, is a little bit weaker than the other mono green commanders, which are like, some of the ones I just mentioned are CDH viable. So, it's not in that category, but it's certainly a fun green commander. Azuri, I haven't seen an Azuri deck in a long time, but I used to lose to it all the time back in the day. Kind of when I first started the channel up, before I started the channel, that 2015, 2016 era. I mean, now you have Marwyn, and Marwyn is just dumb. We hit with the Mask Memory. We will draw 2 cards, discard a card, discard this, a Plains. Did we play a land already? Any more creatures in the graveyard? Played a land already. Makes me sad. We have the Champion's Helm. We can flash this in. I will flash this in at instant speed if someone tries to remove our stuff. Nate said, quick, some Patreon build Azuri and dunk on me real quick. Yeah. Azuri is, do you have a board wipe right now? Do you have another one after it? If the answer is no, you probably just lost. Titania? I haven't seen as much of Titania. People always go the plus mode on Titania and make the elf, and I'm like, no, you should probably... No, am I confusing that? No, I'm thinking Fraley's. Sorry. Confusing all my green stuff. My bad. Titania is what? Land sack deck? Dot deck? Or am I confusing all these now? Yeah, I don't play green that much. Especially like elf green. Yeah, okay. Titania is the do land stuff. Yeah, I've lost to that deck. I have lost many games to Titania. Someone says Elf Ball is a pain to play against in paper. It's a pain to play against in general. Watch me cast my entire deck in 4 turns is usually how Elf Ball goes. There's a privilege position for Chaotix, so some sort of enchantment theme going on over there. Don't know what the exact plan is yet, but draws a card with the Eidolon of Blossoms. Tashana is a very good Elf Ball commander. I had a friend that was running one. It was basically just Mana Dork Tribal, and it was a food chain deck, but he would find food chain by turn 5, turn 6 every single time, and it was just the most annoying thing imaginable. Yeah, board wipes can slow down Elf Ball. Someone points out that, yes, they are very weak and prone to board wipes, but they still rebuild super quickly as long as your hand isn't empty when it happens. And now there's like so many things like Beast Whisperer and Guardian Project and stuff like that that reward you for just playing more creatures. So you probably aren't empty-handed when the board wipe goes off. It just, yep, those are very strong decks. Okay, he's got a discard. He discards Esperia, Supreme Judge. Someone points out, just win fast. As someone who used to try to do the just win fast thing, it's a great plan, except those decks usually crumble to interaction. So, like, the second someone interacts with you, life is terrible. And since then, I've really kind of just, like, I've really focused on, like, balanced gameplay. You don't need to win fast if you can stop what your opponents are doing. Like, if you wipe the board with something like this single combat, that means that I no longer have to win the game in 4 turns. I can win the game in whatever time frame I need to win it in, because I'm able to buy myself time by blowing up their stuff. Opponent's going to dredge the shenanigans back and shoot our Basilisk Collar. Collar going down. Yep. More of that. So yeah, I really kind of gotten to the point where, like, yes, you can win fast. You can build decks that, like, are just all in. I'm going to try and do this thing. A lot of the mono red decks tend to be like that. We're thinking like mono red and a Heb. Just the plan is getting a Heb into play and try to do the thing as fast as humanly possible. Not a lot of interaction in that deck. Maybe a little bit of burn, like a flame break or something. But in general, that deck is not planning to interact a ton. And Opponent's got a Zerzoth trigger on the stack. We draw an Unexpectedly Absent. We discard a Plains. Yeah, getting there. Not getting punished after getting punished on the first one or two of those. Why didn't we play the Foundry Inspector? Probably could have did that. I think I was talking too much. But yeah, you know, if you just by just having removal in your deck, you take the burden off of having to win fast. You can, you know, just win in whatever, as long as you win before your opponents do, you can win in that time frame, which is, I just enjoy that much more because then you're not, you know, it's stressful when you know that you have to win quickly, especially like, someone can always have a Soul Ring or a Mana Crypt in their opener, so they can always just be faster than you, even if you have a very fast deck. So you can't always be consistently super fast like that unless you're playing like a CEDH style deck. The ones that come to mind like Najeela, Winota, and who's the Simic one? Edric. You know what I mean? Those decks are just consistently fast, but in general, it's hard to do that, so just play removal. Someone also points out Godo is the most competitive mono red commander and is super all in. Yeah, a lot of the good mono red decks are just like these super all in. You know, I'm not going to interact a lot. I'm going to hope you don't interact with me and go for it. Oh no. There's a Bane of Progress in the graveyard, and he's going to get that back with the Genesis. Well, I foresee this turn going poorly. How do we not get crushed? This will be interesting. Yeah, I don't know if there's any way around not getting crushed right here. Yeah, you know, we are an artifact deck. Sometimes you will run into mass artifact removal. Bane of Progress, here it comes. Suppose we can take them out with just like Unexpectedly Absent, the Bane of Progress, and then swing in for the 2 will do it. The 2 will do it. That's probably what I'm on. It's turn 9. And they've got an 18/18 Bane of Progress. It's pretty scary. Hey, Darksteel Plate is indestructible itself. That is cool. What are the commanders? There's a Zerzoth, a Gargos, and Ramos. There's a Crush Contraband. Doesn't help in this exact moment. Play the Ameria. Unexpectedly Absent the Bane of Progress. 2 should do it. Yeah, someone also points out that, like, killing someone quickly is not, like, the most fun commander to play either. You know, if you're just trying to, like, chill with some buddies and play some commander, winning in 4 turns with the most hyper-aggressive thing ever, not exactly super fun. And then if they have a board wipe, you do nothing. So, yeah, I prefer balanced decks more than anything these days. Some amount of ability to recover, some ability to interact with your opponents, not let them run wild. And on that note, someone left me a super rude message the other day. It was a comment, and it was about Edgar Markov. And the single most viewed video on my channel right now is Hyper Aggressive Edgar Markov. And that deck does not really work anymore because of people using a lot more fast mana and just people kind of like understanding the format better, understanding how important fast mana and ramping and all that stuff is. So like trying to cough out a bunch of 1/1s and 2/2s does not end a game super effectively anymore. And I did some recent testing with Edgar Markov recently. That deck is not very good if you're trying to play it super aggressive. Like if you're doing aristocrats and stuff, that's kind of a different story. But, you know, if you're just trying to make 1/1s and 2/2s, the clock on that deck is like probably 7 turns, you know, to really take out a table. That's having to get Edgar Markov into play. It's just a lot. Like, it's not particularly fast for an aggro deck, and it's prone to board wipes. And if someone just ramps to a 7-drop, you're in trouble. You know, if Vanellish Norn or Zendikar Resurgent, not Zendikar Resurgent, the other one, Avenger of Zendikar comes in, that's all bad times. Like, it just, there's a lot of things that can go wrong if you're just trying to play like fast aggro. Kristen had a take on Edgar Markov recently that I've been meaning to check out. She's calling it mid-range Markov, so a much more balanced style of play. Didn't see what the win condition was, but kind of adopts that mindset of it's hard to win fast consistently, and you want a balanced game plan of I'm going to have to blow up some stuff. You know, if I can try to like out-tempo my opponents, like opponent just tapped out for this Avacyn right here. You know, if you path that, that's 8 mana that they just lost, and that gives you quite a bit of time to go do stuff. So, but yeah, I've been interested to check out her mid-range Markov list because, you know, other than like Najila and Winota, which are absurd, I don't think fast aggro is like really the place to be for most Commander games. You really just want to be able to interact with stuff. There's a Wasteland. Bet this gets shot. I don't know that we have that many creatures in the graveyard, do we? Actual 0 creatures? Shoot Seam Area, actual 0 creatures. Joke's on them. Now they're down a land, and we get Savine's Reclamation. Actually, we drew Savine's Reclamation. Savine's Reclamation is really good because that can get back our really cool equipments. I should pay attention to this game right now. Some Devils going on the attack. We do the loop thing. Could probably part with the Blade Master right here, or the Balan. Don't think we need either of those. Would like to keep the Savine's Reclamation. What did we lose? We lost Crush Contraband. Would have preferred to keep that one. That one's good. We got some things coming in our way. Just going to take the damage. Going to try to keep this Foundry Inspector alive. Someone points out even CEDH decks run some removal. Most run a lot of removal. Now, that removal is usually counterspells, because Flash was a thing. Now it's Consultation is the thing you have to worry about. But no, they actually run a lot of interaction, except for the green decks. The green decks don't have a lot of great options. But, you know, if you're a multicolor CEDH deck, yes, you're going to run a lot of different types of removal, or like a lot of just card slots of removal. Cheap and efficient, probably a lot of counterspells. You got to interact on the stack a lot. Not so many board wipes typically, because you just don't see as many creatures in CEDH, although the meta's still shifting, and I think it's going to be more creature heavy when I think it kind of settles in. We draw an Inquisitor's Flail. How do we want to do this? So we've got Savine's Reclamation. We got some cool stuff. Got to be the Trailblazer's Boots, because we need to get the damage in. Trailblazers plus Inquisitors seems good. Probably Feast and Famine. Feast and Famine's also good. Oh, yeah. Okay. Problem is equipping all this stuff. It'll be 8 to cast and flash that back. Almost makes me think about an Sigarda's Aid. Yeah, I think we'll start with Sigarda's Aid. Maybe we didn't need to do that. I don't know. Nah, this will still work. So get Trailblazer's Boots. Flash this thing back. Use the ability. Copy and get Feast and Famine. Sigarda's Aid. Equip to Sram. Use the ability. Get Feast and Famine. Equip that to Sram. Oh yeah, we've got the cost reduction for the flail. Yeah, I think this all worked out perfectly. Haha. Pay 1. Draw a card. It's a Batterskull. Batterskull is cool. Free equip. Send this in to the Devil's opponent. Opponent takes a giant hit. That's 8 commander damage. That untaps our lands, which is super cool. Guess we play the... do we play that? I don't know. It's probably just going to get shot by a bunch of devils. So, like... That's got flash. That's really cool. Maybe we'll equip the Champion's Helm right here. That seems like a good idea. Yeah, we'll leave the Batterskull on the flash. Seems like a thing. Avison's got flying. Maybe we want a flyer. Yeah, what's the worst that could happen? People talking about CDH board wipes. Yeah, some of the ones that I see, Fire Covenant is a big one because everything has like 2 or 3 toughness, so you can actually kill quite a few things with it, which is very cool. Toxic Deluge is probably the best one because you really don't have to pump that much life into it, unlike you do occasionally in normal Commander. But yeah, there's not like tons and tons of board wipes typically. I've seen the Supreme Verdict a number of times if you're playing some sort of blue-white deck because the uncounterable is nice. I would say that CEDH decks, especially now, could probably stand to run a few more board wipes than they do, except that I play decks that get crushed by board wipes, so I prefer that they didn't. The reason that Winota works is because people don't run enough board wipes. But Pyroclasm is the absolute scariest thing imaginable. There's a Hana Ship's Navigator and a Heuristic Study coming into play. Yeah, this looks like enchantments.deck. Am I running Gerard in my Winota list? I am. There's a big gap where Pyroclasm doesn't kill Gerard, but kills everything else you control except Winota. It's a bit of an issue. The 3-mana Tajik is very solid. I've been looking at Burrington Forge Tender, a gem out of, like, is that Lorwyn? Somewhere in the Lorwyn block. And that can stop a Pyroclasm and is a non-human. Also, the not Mother of Runes, but the non-human Mother of Runes. Also Mother of Runes, too. But yeah, that's kind of... Pyroclasm is like one of the scariest things. Fire Covenant is pretty scary. Board wipes in general are scary, but people don't run the really, really good ones typically in CEDH because they need efficiency more than they need power. Yeah, also Selfless Spirit, run that in Winota big time. But yes, I do run Gerard because eventually there's going to be a Toxic Deluge or something that, is going to blow up your team. Opponent's going to blow up our Sword of Feast and Famine once again, dredging the Shenanigans. Shenanigans is a card that I meant to test out at some point and just never did. Kind of showed up in that big clump of cards that arrived in the middle of last year and just hasn't made it onto my radar. But is very cool. Repeatable artifact removal, pretty good. It's the opponent just kind of whittling us away. Now, they've been giving up their draws to do that, but sometimes you just need to blow up an artifact. And if that thing is Feast and Famine, that's definitely worth it. Someone asks, is Winota now the best for Boros CEDH? I would say so, but I haven't had a chance to play a lot of Zerda yet. Winota is very consistent in what it does. The only things you really need to watch out for are board wipes and Draneth Magistrate before you can get your commander in. And other than that, I say that people are ill prepared to actually deal with Winota. But the trade-off there is that you use a lot of your deck slots for creatures, humans and not humans, and that doesn't leave a lot of room for like other types of cards, other interaction. Zerda has a smaller card package in that, you know, you're basically just talking like either of the monoliths, a couple tutors for them, and, you know, a few X spells, and then that leaves you like the rest of your deck list to do whatever you want. So that's a thing there's value in that. There's value in being able to run other types of interaction and large numbers of it. But I don't know how consistent that one is yet. It's been on my to-do list. I haven't seen a Zerda CEDH deck that I really like yet, deck list wise. So it's kind of that like trial and error of me having to go test one and put it together myself and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, it just takes time. Most of my CEDH games that I was playing were with Winota because I was really trying to get that one tested. I've got a deck tech video that's like 3/4 done for Winota CEDH, and I just need to finish it. We've got a Batterskull. There's a Return to Dust. Return to Dust, pretty cool. Batterskull coming in. Do we free equip it? There's the living weapon. I think I'm not going to free equip it. Is that a May? You may. Because I want to block with the germ, gain a little bit of life back. Block this Scare Tiller. Gotcha. A Braid is very good. A Braid is a super good card. I do run a Braid in my CEDH decks whenever I can. Someone says their Feather deck is basically only draw, interaction, stacks, and combo. What's the combo? I'm curious. I probably know it off the top of my head, but I'm also trying to think about this game a little bit too. Devil dies. We get pinged. Anything at the end step? We could Return to Dust. Actually, yeah, we could Return to Dust as Rhystic Study, and I think I'm going to do that. Don't need KO drawing a million cards over there. It's not a thing that we need. No mana to pay for it, sadly. Someone says, I feel like Winota can't afford a 2-mana non-stacks piece. It can, but you really do want your stacks pieces. You don't want too many. A Braid is probably worth it. You do need to be able to deal with Draneth Magistrate. Okay, brings back to our turn. We got a Smothering Tithe. Play a Soul Ring. Oh, Soul Ring is free. Gotta love free Soul Ring. I think we move the Batterskull over to the Sram. This is 8. That's doubled, so that'll give 16. Not enough to kill KO in one shot. If it was, I'd probably go his way. So I'm thinking just the Devils, because the Devils have like a lot of little... I don't know. KO's got a Hana. But the problem is that in either case, we don't kill our opponents. Do we have haste? No, there's no haste in this stack of stuff. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Well, I don't think we can take any more hits from shenanigans, so I think we got to kill the devil's opponent right here. I think that's what's got to happen. We've been demolished pretty good with shenanigans. Spencer says, thank you for playing his list. You are welcome. Thank you for supporting me. I really do appreciate it. So Kithron goes down. What are we doing? I think we can survive a turn. I'm going to go for Smothering Tithe. See what happens. Oh, yeah, we're up to 40, so we should be okay. Unless he's really got something wild lined up, then I don't know. We'll see. They have the Dual Caster Twin Flame Heat Shimmer combo. Very cool. That's a good one for Feather. Feather is a weird deck. I've played a lot of Feather, and, you know, it's like keeping your commander in play is the most important thing in that deck. The cards in your hand are really bad if Feather is not in play. But it can do some wild stuff too. You start talking about like repeatable removal. I really love that stuff. Fall of the Hammer, Impact Resonance, all good times. I think a Feather is kind of like this like flying battle station of like your entire deck is like kind of built around keeping this one thing in play. And if that happens, you're probably going to have some success. Idyllic Tutor, I'm sure this will be bad. Yeah, Winota is really important to keep in play too. With that deck, you need to keep your non-humans alive and you need to keep Winota alive. And after that, almost nothing else matters. You don't need to draw cards with that deck. You don't even need to ramp that much once those two things are in play. Yeah, keep your non-humans alive, keep Winota in play. That's the deck. What did he go for? He went for, Collective Restraint. Rude. Can't afford to pay for it, though. Agitator Ant coming in. At the beginning of your end step, player may put 2 counters on it. Goad, okay. That would put us to 10. I think Goad might be bugged in Magic Online, so I'm not going to take that. I forget if Goad... Yeah, I think there's a problem with Goad not working the right way when you're down to the final player, so we're going to skip that. Avison coming our way. Nothing we can do about it. Yeah, Rule of Law effects are very good with Winota because you don't need to cast anything. And I've been trying to live the like Draneth Magistrate Possibility Storm dream of no one can cast anything because you don't need to cast spells with Winota, and that is super cool. Ideally, an equipment off the top to put us over the 21 right there would be pretty good, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Not going to take this gold thing because I don't think it works right. There's a Plains. Awesome. Right on time. Right on time. Still no haste in the stack. Yep. Okay. Well, if we had haste, I might think about Balin. But we do not. So I guess we just turn this thing sideways. Conqueror's Galleon. Conqueror's Galleon is a cool card. It's just like, it's a little bit slow. It's a little bit, you have to like get it flipped over. It's just kind of like, it's a lot of like hoops to jump through. But it is very cool. I have one in foil. I got them when they first came out, and it's super pretty in foil. So, you know, in a slower, more casual setting, it can do some really fun things. But if you're going fast, it does have some issues. I think there was a crew 4 or something ridiculous like that. There's a really high crew on it, I think. Do we want this Blade Master? I don't know. Yeah, we'll play the Blade Master, just have a blocker. We still have Balin. If a board wipe that like exiles everything should happen. I don't think I'm going to move anything. Just going to throw it out there as a blocker. Someone said, so we talked about Feather, Gerard, and Winota. Time for Zerda. I do have a Zerda list. Maybe we'll play that. It's not good. It's not a good Zerda list. Like it's not CEDH. It's like, I wouldn't even call it mid power. It's like pretty janky. But trying to queue up game 2 since I think this one's probably just about over. And you take a peek over here real quick. Make sure my Zerda list is still together and complete. All that good stuff. Zerda Test. I think that's the one we want. Zerda Test Janky Token. That's the really janky one. This one. Here's my testing one. We could try this thing out. It's got some stuff in it. That's okay. Yeah, we'll give that a go. We'll see how it's going. I haven't looked at it in a while. No idea what's in it. There's that collective restraint we talked about. Zerda Sunforger extra turn combo might work. Yeah. Yeah, Sunforger is very good with Zerda. Windborne Music. Oh, God. It's going to be so expensive to attack in. Pillow Fort is the name of the game. I think that's 4. That's 2. No, is that 5? It's probably 5. So 7? It's going to be 7 to attack. I was on Twitter yesterday, and I shared a card that I think is pretty cool. It's called Gideon's Sacrifice. You choose a creature or planeswalker you control, and all damage that would be dealt to you or creatures you control is dealt to the chosen creature instead. If you make that creature indestructible and then play Arc Bond, you will do infinite damage to all creatures and all other players at the table, which is really cool, and that's a thing that I want to do now. So that's like another Sunforger thing that you can combo out with. I don't know that it's more effective than the Final Fortune thing, but it at least doesn't have a lose the game trigger involved. Well, now it's got trample, so I think we just take that. No infect, right? Not seen any infect. Okay. I think we're good. Just going to hurt a little bit. But yeah, I stumbled onto that combo. It wasn't one that I was aware of previously. Talking about it on Twitter with some people. And now that's a thing that I want to try, and I kind of want to get a feel on, like, how effective is that combo? Yes, if none of those cards are in your hand, you'll need to activate Sunforger 3 times. But with Zerda or, who's the other guy? Fervent Champion, you can do that pretty easily. Say no to the Agitator Ant. Yeah, if you're building like a Gisela Stuffy Doll kind of deck, it's definitely a plan in there. You say it's a worse fog, but it also protects your creatures against Blasphemous Act and things like that. So that's pretty important. Spellbinder. You want to do it with Spellbinder? Sending in the Sram. This should do it. He's tapped out. Oh my god, we have to pay so much. Paying 7. Turn 14. This was a surprisingly long game. Single combat played an interesting role in... Oh my god. Broke everything. Single combat played an interesting role in that it slowed down the creature decks. And it kind of bought us like 2 turns because they couldn't really recast their stuff either. So that was super cool. He had Oath of Kaya, Silent Sentinel, Return Enchantments, and Vow of Flight. Why didn't he play Vow of Flight? Oh. Time? I don't know. Could have played Vow of Flight. But I guess we just move the equipments. We just move it to the Blade Master. Anyway, let's get to game 2. I'm gonna switch to the Zerta deck. I have some people lined up in Patreon Discord chat. And we got this janky token one. This one's was it 20 ticks, I think. Let's see how janky we're gonna go. Figuring out if we're going with the super jank or going with the testing list. Let's see. This is the token one. Yeah, it's the token one. So we got things like Assemble the Legion, Outlaws, Merriment, Anointed Procession, Heliod. Someone says to go with the slightly better one. Okay, so we'll go with this one. Just kind of testing things out in this deck still. Got a bunch of like value-y pieces, Soul Separator. It's kind of fun. Yeah, we'll see it out. We'll try it out, see what happens. We need to switch our decks. Make sure we don't forget to do that. And fire up a new game. Anyway, yeah, the Sram deck from Spencer was pretty cool. Had the right balance of everything that we were kind of looking for. Had some removal. Had a lot of equipments. Yeah, I thought it played really well. Not too much to say. The mana ramp, that's the one thing. So, yeah, the mana ramp you want for that deck is unfortunately not super cheap. That's the Mox Opal, Mox Amber type stuff, but they are very good. Will speed the deck up. Probably by an entire turn. So, yeah, I'd look at some of those and probably just a couple more signets. Again, you don't need like tons and tons of mana with that deck, but yeah, a little bit of extra mana production is going to be good. The cost reduction in there, though, was definitely good with the bird and, what's the other guy? The Foundry Inspector, that's the one. We won the die roll. Pretty sure someone got snaked. I see different names than the people I were expecting to join. So, here we are. Yep, that's Mana Crypt. Mana Crypt, what's his Eye of Doom do? Enters battlefield, choose, that's removal. I think I'm actually going to mulligan this hand. I think I want more lands. Into, still not amazing. Got a Dowsing Dagger, though. This thing finds more stuff that finds more value. Let's find out what equipments are actually in this deck. I have no idea. No idea. Sword of the Animus. Perfect. That's the only one I really care about. The token list is actually pretty cool. It's not like great by any means, but like it is cool. It does weird things. We'll keep this hand. It's fine. Actually, we need to draw another land just to cast our commander. Maybe it's less fine than I thought. We'll see. If we find a Mana Rock, it's going to be pretty ridiculous. We got Manifold Key and Voltaic Key. Cadus is in the game with us. He's also in the chat. Yeah, you better not stream snipe me. Someone really liked the oh my god, I can't talk anymore. Vevictus Asmati Primal Surge deck. Would a Surge Enduring Ideal deck work? No, because Enduring Ideal, well, it could. You wouldn't be able to go through your entire deck because of Enduring Ideal. Like, it's a sorcery. So, but if you just played it like for value and just, get like anywhere between like 5 and 20 enchantments into play, it could be all right. Let's get the plains first. Ooh, the colorless lands. The colorless land's going to bite us, I think. Get the Voltaic key. Yeah, playing first again. All right. Oh, we got a Locust God. Oh, God. I hate the Locust God. We're going to lose the Locust God. That's how this game's going to end. An hour from now, when we lose to the Locust God, you guys can remember that I said we were going to lose to the Locust God. Because that's what's going to happen. My Discord server is for Patreons only, but it is available for any tier of Patreon. So for the low cost of $2 a month, you too can join the Patreon Discord server. And it is cool, like especially if you play MTGO, the ability to talk about the decks you want to play before you play them is super, super helpful to having high quality games, which is why I almost exclusively play with Patreons now. Every once in a long while, I'll play like a random pickup game or something, but I found that people are just awful about evaluating the power level of their decks. It's either it's way too high or it's way too low. It's never like super close. So, and it's much worse on Magic Online if you're like at the shop talking to people. You can like it's easier to have a conversation about it. Like, I'm supposed to play with, oh God, who am I playing with this weekend? Playing with someone this weekend. Affinity for Commander, I think is who I'm playing with. It's on my calendar somewhere. But the main questions that I ask them, because I haven't played with those guys before, is, are you using 2-card combos? Like, are those inbounds or out of bounds? And are you using single card finishers, Torment of Hailfire, Insurrection, that type of stuff? And that gives me like a really good idea. They said that, I forget what they said, but anyway, answering both of those questions gives me like a pretty good idea of what type of deck I should probably be bringing to a table. So, if you guys are trying to like better understand the power level of what's going on, I think those are probably like the 2 questions that narrow it down pretty quickly. And there's other ways to go about it too, but those are the ones that I found that worked for me. There's a Brainstorm for opponent on the end step. How about this one? Magistrate, Scepter, Voltaic Key, Manifold Key, Karn's Bastion. I don't even know what all those cards do. What's the Scepter do? That's the one that takes turns if you put enough counters on it. Yeah, that probably works. I faced a deck similar to that the other day. There's an easier way to do it, I think. I forget what it is, but it was what's his name? Taunos? I think Taunos does something like that. That makes it really easy to do. Won't be wheeled. What if I need new cards? Kata says he's not playing wheels. Opponent says he started off with a foil command tower. This doesn't look good. Yeah, foils are a little different on Magic Online. It's not like if you're playing at the shop and you see all foil lands coming down, then you're probably in for a world of hurt. But yeah, for all the like content that's ever been produced on power level, it's still the thing that's like hardest to communicate effectively. I've spent like a lot of time thinking about it, and depending on the day of the week and which way the wind is blowing, I am sometimes of the mindset that like being very general about your power level is the way to go. Other days of the week, I'm like, well, sometimes it just doesn't boil it down enough. Like you need to get really specific, but then I don't know. It's hard. It's such a thing. Like in general, the thing that I think is most important to talk about is what makes your deck strong. If it's really fast, that's a thing. You'll want to also bring a fast deck, things that are efficient, things that have probably cheap interaction. But if your deck is like slow and powerful. Let's say like Villas is kind of the example that I use. Villas, not particularly fast, but once it comes in the late game, it's very powerful in the late game. So, just kind of having that conversation about why the deck is strong, I think is super important. And that'll tell you much more than like asking a number, because everyone will say 7 all the time. 7 is a useless number. Anyway, we draw a colored land. I like colored lands. So let's play the mountain. Let's get our commander. We're playing Zerda, by the way. Haven't really officially introduced our commander. So Zerda the Dawnwaker, 1 red-white hybrid for a 3/3. Has companion. We're not using the companion ability today. Abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the cost to less than 1. And it has 1 tap target creature. Has 1 tap it. Target creature can't block this turn. Ooh. Having trouble reading. No big deal. Skull Clamp coming in. Getting a little tired. Anyway, what's interesting is I like the can't block this turn ability because, 1, it makes it legal to itself because it does need to have an activated ability for that companion rule to work. But 2, that ability doesn't matter until it does, and when it does, people usually lose the game. It's one of those like, yeah, it doesn't seem like it's that crazy, but yeah, at some point, someone wants to block, and you remove that blocker, and life is good. Let's see what our opponents are playing. We've got Locust God. I've talked about it a little bit. Said it's not going to be a wheels deck, so probably just like more token-based and self-draw based. Next up, we've got Arcades the Strategist. Ooh, yeah, that's a real commander. Dropping down, High Alert. I don't think I've seen this one. Each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Oh, that's good. That's a backup to Arcades. One of the ways that you beat Arcades is make sure that Arcades stays out of play. This is another piece of redundancy for Arcades. So that's really good. That is very good. And then finally, we've got Will Kenrith and Rowan Kenrith, many Planeswalker abilities. Interesting commander set, or interesting, commander set, I'll call them. Because they're both 6 mana, so it's like a little awkward. You want to ramp pretty hard to get to those kind of quickly because 6 mana, it's a little slow, but a lot of good abilities between the two of them. The creatures lose all abilities text is really powerful. I'm hoping this isn't a piece of interaction right here, this open command tower. It's going to be a bad time if it is, because I really want to flip over this Dowsing Dagger. There's a Strip Mine. Let's get the Arch into play. Play the Dowsing Dagger. Definitely don't want to put the Defenders right there. They can use those pretty easily. Ugh. Locust God, do I want to... think I'm giving it to the... because I don't want to, like, not be able to attack the Planeswalker player either. I think I'm giving those to the Locust God, which I don't love one bit. There is a cost to this card. There is a cost to this card. Equip the Dowsing Dagger. 1 mana. Leave the white open. Feign like we have a Swords or a Path. Make opponents nervous. Go on the attack. Oh, man, if we left this untap, I think we would have been able to draw a card. Bummer. Actually, we need City's Blessing. I don't think we have City's Blessing yet. We'll attack the Arcades opponent 1 time right here, since they are open. Someone brings up an interesting point about power level discussion. They run Siona with Shielded by Faith, and it's a 2-card combo, but the rest of the deck is not powerful otherwise. Yeah, it's sort of just like this landmine that occasionally you'll find that, and the game will end, or potentially end if opponents can't interact. I haven't figured out a great way to talk about decks like that yet. I mean, just, talking about it like, well, there's a combo in here. If it happens, the game's going to end. If it doesn't, then everything's fine. I guess that's the best way to talk about it, but yeah, it is weird. That's kind of the era of Commander that we're in. Is like, well, if I just hit the things the right way, sometimes the game just ends. That's where we are. And that really does put like an emphasis on cheap interaction. Someone said their old playgroup thought that Felidar Sovereign was an unfair and broken card. Yeah, Felidar Sovereign can be annoying until you run like any removal at all. And once you do that, then you're like, oh, it's a creature. You have the ability to interact with it at sorcery speed. Not too bad. It's the things that don't give you the ability to interact at sorcery speed are generally the most powerful. That's your Crater Hoof type stuff. Also why the big spells, Torment of Hailfire, can interact with that at sorcery speed. Things you need to interact with at instant speed, and especially if they require like really specific answers, are super difficult. Super difficult. That's the stuff that wins the game really efficiently. Opponent puts a Skull Clamp on the plant. Well, hasn't died yet. They did play a Tolarian Wind, so it looks like they're on the self-wheel plan. Opponent's going to... What does this do? Becomes a copy of target creature until your next turn. Going to make a copy of Zirda. Sure. They've got themselves a Zirda. We have 8 permanents currently, so we need 2 more to be able to use the City's Blessing ability. Would we make ourselves the Monarch this turn? I'm not sure yet. Probably more so on like the Stonehewer plan than anything. We'll have enough mana to go Stonehewer, leave up Teferi's Protection. I like that. That sounds like a good plan. Here comes Arcades. Yep. Someone says they have both Arcades and Locust God in paper, and both are being played here. Yeah, it's your lucky day. Maybe you'll discover some new tech. I was not personally aware of High Alert. Vine Trellis coming in our way. Yep, nothing we can do about it. Animorphs. I haven't really seen the Animorphs deck. Because I used to play Magic Online, I only ever saw like the CEDH builds, the go wild and combo builds of Animar. So yeah, I haven't really seen the Morphs build. Do I play Najeela anymore? I have a Najeela deck in paper, but it's been built out of leftovers from like everything that... cards that I pulled from other decks, and it's supposed to be quote-unquote CEDH, but it really hasn't been very good at all. Right now, you could think of it as like a bad mid to high power deck that doesn't perform well. Seems to get interacted with a bit too much, and like it has all the combos, but it just hasn't been able to pick up wins. And it really kind of comes down to like the card draw stuff. I think I need like Rhystic Study and cards like that to really kind of take it to the next level. I do like Najeela, though. Najeela is very cool. That's a Blackblade Reforged. You know what card's awesome? Blackblade Reforged. So let's get... Does it matter? Let's get the Strip Mine just in case. We have the Giant. Let's get the Giant. Oh, we can give things haste. Oh, we can do that, can't we? What are we doing right here? We could go with the Black Bladed Forge, just attack things. I think I like the Giant plan. Use the Arch, use the Strip Mine. Yeah, okay. I think all this works. Then, yeah, we could theoretically, if we don't need the Teferi's Protect, we could theoretically give it haste and then get an equipment with it. Now, we could do all that right now, but I just want to leave up Teferi's Protection. I don't want to lose any of my board state, so gonna hold that mana up, do it at the end step. Although opponents are tapped out right now. Oh, yeah, we could have just went for like a... Is Feast and Famine in here? That's the question. Yeah, there's Feast and Famine in here. Yeah, we could have did that. That would have worked. That would have worked. Would have started like a real blood feud with Arcades, though. Don't know that that's what we need to be doing. Someone in chat, that's Blackblade Reforged, something I say at least twice a day since Dominaria has dropped. Yeah. Oh, this card. I love this card. Spencer, whose deck I played in the first game, gave me a really sweet copy. The Gideon Spellbook copy of Blackblade Reforged, which I had a lot of trouble getting. Like, people had them in their trade binders, and I'd be like, hey, is that for trade? Can I trade you for that? And they're like, no, I want to hang on to it. And I'm like, oh, why? Just need more pretty Blackblade Reforged. Here's a Mana Crypt. Yep. That's a real card. Yeah, I don't know. Blackblade Reforged. Like, and here's the thing with Blackblade Reforged. It's a really cool card, and I love it. But it invalidates most of the other equipments that only do damage. Like, Stratascythe was a card. Think about things like, you could still use them. You could use them as, like, other copies. Nightmare Lash and, what's the other one? Lash Writhe. Cards like that where they are equipments that only do damage. Blackblade Reforged, generally the best of the bunch, so kind of just makes all those other cards not super relevant anymore, which is always sad. Like, it's always sad when just old cards that you like aren't relevant any longer, but it's also super cool. And I really love the way they did it. Giving it that legendary equipability just makes it so much more interesting than if it just said, like, +1/+1 for each land you control. I think that was a really, just, like, interesting and unique and, like, flavorful way to handle the design of the card. So, definitely down for that. Opponent going on the attack. Not into us this time. Always good news. Thoughts on proxies? I'm going to take a drink before I get into that. Throat's getting a little sore. I don't have like a clear position on proxies. The group that I played with at the shop, they were playing some very strong decks, and proxies were welcome. There were people that would proxy out an entire deck because they don't have a lot of money, and we're playing some pretty strong stuff. People are dropping. There were real time twisters in that play group, so money was no object to some of the players in the group. And in that sense, yeah, proxy some cards. That doesn't bother me. On the other hand, I think like whole-scale mass proxying is probably not super healthy for the game either. So I think it's like a really delicate balancing act of, yeah, a few proxies here aren't going to bother me. I don't have a lot of proxies. I think the big one that I have is Gauntlet of Might, because they're like, what, $600 or something ridiculous like that. It's in my Ashling deck. Like, it's not like Ashling... That Ashling deck does not win a lot anyway. So, Ashling needs the help. But, yeah, so a few proxies are fine. I think mass proxying is probably not where the game wants to be. At the end of the day, Wizard still needs to make money on the products. So, yeah. Everything within reason, everything within moderation. I think proxies are fine. Like, I'm not going to get super bent out of shape if someone's, got a couple cards proxied. Maybe it's a different story if it's like, hey, I'm proxying like all the fast mana so my deck can be ridiculous, and then I'm not going to tell you that my deck has a whole bunch of fast mana and wins in 3 turns. Sure, I might be a little annoyed about that, but in general, I think it's fine. Jungle Barrier, not a card on my radar. Enters the battlefield, draw a card, has Defender. It's a 2/6. Yep, pretty good. Portcullis Vine. Sacrifice a creature with Defender, draw a card, 1 mana. Yep, cool. Things you'd expect to see from an Arcades opponent. Yeah, I'm okay with people that like proxy cards that they already own. It's like, all right, I've got a mana crypt, but I've got one mana crypt, so I'd like to have it in this other deck. Because mana crypt obviously expensive, although I think it's coming down, but still not a cheap card. Yeah, I'm cool with that. Like, the management of having more than one copy, particularly of expensive cards, is super annoying. Like I talked about earlier, I cannot build a Kiri Bruce in this moment because I don't have a Feast and Famine or Fire and Ice. I should probably just proxy those. But I like having the cards too. I don't like to proxy that much if I don't have to, but yeah, I'm definitely okay with people that have one copy of the card and they're just like, yeah, I can't have this one card in 4 different decks. That's not going to work. Even with stuff that's like less expensive than that, let's just say like, I don't know, think of like Mirari's Wake or what's Aura Shards at, things that are usually in that like 15 to 20 range. It's like, I don't want 4 copies of a $20 card. That's not really where I'm planning to spend my money. Someone highlights my comment, Wizard still needs to make money. I mean, yeah, they still need to make money. If business is bad, the game will go away. Like, you want the game to grow, you want people to buy the cards. It doesn't have to be you buying the cards. Like, if you don't like the product, don't buy it. But okay, it's the end step time to do that thing we talked about. Give Stone Hero Giant haste. Activate Stone Hero Giant. Yeah. So yeah, we definitely could have gotten for like a Feast and Famine and did this last turn if I was paying closer attention. Everyone was tapped out, so it probably would have worked just the way we wanted it to, but I haven't figured out exactly how cutthroat this game is yet, so that's also a thing to consider. Nasty artifacts for the Locust God. I'd love to get rid of that Skull Clamp, so I'm thinking maybe like a Sinew and Steel. But what else do we need? We could use some card draw. Fire and Ice is very good. Also, lots of blue at the table. Maybe Fire and Ice. Yeah. Maybe we're just doing like Fire and Ice, Feast and Famine. Put that on the Giant. Hope we untap safely. We have untapped safely. Excellent. We draw an Austere Command. I'm sure that'll be helpful. Play this Throne of the High City. We'll get started on the Locust God because it's about that time. Probably could have played the Black Blade Reforge, although equipping it to the Giant is still going to be 5 mana. It's kind of a bit. Swing into the Locust God. Declare attacks. Get our Feast and Famine. Oh, crap. Yeah, we should have did that way differently. Oh, I did that so badly. You know what we can do? We can draw and do stuff with these things. Yeah. Not completely wasting our turn. Get a Feast and Famine. Equip a Feast and Famine. Would I burn the Teferi's Protection on a piece of removal? They're just going to bounce the Feast and Famine. You know what? That's fine. I'm okay with that. That is totally fine. Oh, now they can block. Yeah, I see what's going on. Okay, well, we need a plant token. All right. That was not super exciting. Okay, plant token down. Yeah, those plant tokens will bite you every once in a while. What do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana left. We should do something with it. Definitely leave 3 for the Teferi's Protection. Yeah, probably just cast our equipments. Do we need to draw? It'll be 3 to draw a card. Let's get the Feast and Famine back into play. Definitely want that. Equip the Feast and Famine, and then we'll kind of leave this mana up for Teferi's Protection, and or we can draw with the Arch. Sounds good to me. We've got a plan. Someone says since they started proxying cards they own, they can build way more decks than before. Yep, that does help. So someone brings up the counter argument of it's insulting to players who actually have the cards. So the thing you have to understand is, you have to kind of put yourself in the other person's shoes. You have to kind of like understand other people's point of view, is that not everyone can invest in the game the same way that you can. Some people will be able to invest more. Some people will be able to invest less. Some people just aren't. And when I say invest right there, I mean from a monetary standpoint. There's also the just like social investment of the game, or how into the game are they actually? If someone's like, they're still new and they're kind of just figuring it out, do they really like playing Commander? Then it doesn't make sense for them to go buy, $3,000 worth of cards. Don't need to go get real-time twisters and things like that. You shouldn't be insulted because someone else proxied a card. You need to understand that not everyone can spend that much money on the game of Magic, and that the pieces are expensive. So, some leeway there I think is warranted. But again, if someone if they're proxying out just every piece of fast mana, solely for the purpose of trouncing you, and you aren't playing AC EDH style deck, sure, might be a little annoyed about that. But, and again, everyone's going to have different feelings on this, but, I think it's bad form to kind of say what someone else should spend on the game. That's kind of my main point, is that, people are just going to be invested at different levels, both financially and just from game interest standpoint. So, being open to that, I think more people playing the game is better. So you want people to be able to play the game, and I recognize that it's an expensive game. The thing that I keep telling people over and over again is, if you want expensive cards, get a time machine and start playing Commander in 2010, because cards were super cheap then. And the years following that, they all got really expensive, especially reserve list stuff. So yeah, one of the single greatest things about MTGO is own one copy of a card, put it in every Commander deck you have. Just so helpful. That is one of the top benefits of MTGO. That and play Magic at 3 a.m. when the shop is closed. Those are probably your two best things. Is it always the best game of Magic you've ever played? Maybe not. But if you just want to get some games of Commander in right now, and you don't want to have to buy 1 million copies of every card, MTGO is where to be. Got some kind words from someone watching the Vadrock video right now, decided to pop in on the live stream. Thank you. I appreciate it. Someone asked the question that I kind of just talked about. Yes, with MTGO, you need one copy of every card for every single Commander deck. For Standard, obviously 4 copies. Oh, no, an Oko. Oh, God, that card, what? Ugh, was this? Creatures and what? Target artifact or creature loses? Yeah. Oh, that's so bad. Artificers protect for that. So and that's one of the things with building on this channel. If you look at a lot of my deck lists, a lot of them will have Mana Crypt, a lot of them will have Ugin. And in my opinion, those are two cards that change the power level of a deck pretty significantly. Those aren't things that you can do in every paper deck that you have unless you either have a lot of money or are proxying your cards, because those cards are expensive and having multiples of them. Pretty bad. Opponent's going to try to elk our Feast and Famine. I am not feeling that, so it is Teferi's Protection time. No love for Oko. I have a theory I'm working on right now. If you get hit with 2 of these Oko triggers, you probably can't win the game. Especially in like a faster setting. If the game goes a little longer, maybe. It's turn 6. No one's really threatened like crazy board pressure, although Arcades has a bit of damage. Not sure with the Moonfolk. Moonfolk is going to be like some sort of infinite mana thing, I think. I think that's how that deck wins. But yeah, if you get hit with like multiple Oko triggers, it is super difficult to win a game because your 2 best things just got transformed into Elks. Yeah, so, and someone brings it up, like, MTGO does have its benefits, but yes, I still like playing paper also. I like to just, like, hang out with people, chat, have a good time. MTGO doesn't give you so much of that. It's a little bit more fun, like I talked about Patreon earlier, being able to talk about people also after the game, kind of talk about all the little plays and all the little, like, you know, oh, I was able to win because you did this thing instead of that, or I would have won because you did this thing instead of that, and, you know, it's fun to be able to talk about all that stuff after the game a little bit, so... that is definitely a thing you get much more. The social experience is what paper is better for. You do lose a bit of that on MTGO. Someone said, in our group, we used to say, avoid our children doing drugs, we'll make them play MTG. That way they won't have money to buy anything else. Yep. True statement. Who is it? Someone on Twitter. I think it was Shivam. Shivam and someone else has been talking about it. That, like, even though it would cause financial, I don't want to say ruin, but, like, problems, people still buy cards anyway, and I've definitely been there. Like, I'm someone who generally hasn't had a lot of extra money to my name for most points in my life, and, like, there were times that I should not have been buying cards and was still buying cards, and it's, you know, like, there's definitely this, you know, for all the stuff they talk about with, like, loot boxes in games, and Magic in general definitely has that loot box kind of thing where you just want to, like, get more cards, crack more packs, and do all that stuff. That kind of addictive behavior. And, you know, I think it's a real thing in this community. And, you know, that's another reason that I don't think we should be, like, kind of forcing people to, like, have to buy the cards. Like, hey, if you need to buy a couple proxies so you can, like, put dinner on your table. You know, even worse if you have a family. You know, if you're of that age where you've got kids and other people to think about, then yeah, buying cards is not the most important thing in your life. A proxy or two, not going to bother me. People talking about Oko and Winter Orb in chat. Yeah, nasty cards. I only bring out Winter Orb if people are playing Oko and other things similar to Oko. This kind of says, let's get nasty. If you want to get nasty, bring out the Winter Orbs. All right, we got a Braid of Fire. That's kind of awkward in this moment. What are we doing? There's a green creature, green creature, green creature, green creature. So if we wanted to kill the Oko, we'd have to go in with the Feast and Famine. That is unfortunate. Oko is at 5 loyalty. Why does it plus? Why is it a plus? Oh, God. Blah. So we can't do the land untap thing, which is unfortunate, but maybe what we do is... Oh, let's check the other equipments in the deck. That's actually a good idea. Got a Sunforger. Sunforger. Get like a Chaos Warp or something? Do we have a Chaos Warp? Maybe not. This is a testing list, and when I'm testing, I tend to cut the removal pretty hard, so looks like maybe not so much on the Chaos Warps. Things that really kind of deal with that Oko, so I think we have to Try and hit it in the face. Oh, this is a Sinew and Steel. Haha. Figured it out. How much mana do opponents have? 1 mana right there. 1 mana right there. Yeah, okay, I think that works. Do we Blackblade or Forge yet? Yeah, I think we Blackblade right here. So let's Blackblade. Use the Strip Mine. Actually, undo. Use this thing. It's going to be pretty expensive to equip to the Stone Hero Giant, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to equip it to the Zerta. Make our Zerta nice and big. Then I'm going to play the Braid of Fire. Go to combat. Let's send this into Xeno, because I don't think they're going to have removal for it. Do we attack anywhere with the 10-10? There's a lot of stuff. Yeah, I think we just leave the back. Make sure no blocks or interaction or anything like that. Would say if you draw a card except for the first one, draw 2. That's pretty bad. Should probably do something about that. Activate the Stone Hero Giant. Let's get the Sinew and Steel. And this is why Sinew and Steel is good. Hopefully this hits while I'm saying this and there's no interaction afoot. But yeah, when there's a Planeswalker on the table, you probably need to kill it. You really need to kill it if it's an Oko. And Sinew and Steel gives you that ability. So shoot that Oko. We can shoot Boots, Mana Crypt, or Skull Clamp. Skull Clamp, I think, is the craziest card in that deck. So let's get rid of that. Feast and Famine, Fire and Ice will all trigger. We could have did that order a little bit better as to shoot the Trinket Mage, but maybe we shoot something over here. Worried about that Changeling. This guy looks pretty nasty. Shoot him. I'm sure that's some combo piece somewhere. Unless this is Moonfolk Tribal. I'm not really sure. I don't really know what power level we're actually playing at. Oh, that's a Heliod's intervention. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So, Skull Clamp down. That's a big one. Sinew and Steel being awesome. Love it. What's next? We have untapped. We may have been able to draw a card there before I untapped, but I was kind of talking. Forgot what I was doing, so we will pass like that. Would I consider playing colorless combo? I've been needing to revisit the Emrakul deck for like years and years at this moment. I would not mind playing a colorless deck at some point again. Just need to find some time to do it. I don't know what the combo is in colorless though. So that's a question, but yeah. I'm generally down to play anything for the most part. The only things I don't like to play, the things I don't care for playing are decks that take really long turns. I always feel kind of bad if, you're playing some sort of like Storm deck. Planeswalker decks aren't my favorite because it's just like you take a long time doing a lot of stuff. Not particularly fun for other people at the table, so. You are welcome. They said thank you for allowing for me, can't think of the words, allowing them to discover Sunforger. There we go. Words getting hard. I'm getting tired. Arjun, Shifting Flame coming into play. Sort of like Mind Moil on a creature. When they cast a spell, they wheel. It's pretty good. But yeah, Sunforger, super awesome. Probably one of my favorite cards all time. And yeah, people didn't respect it for a long time, and now it's finally getting some respect post Feather, which was that about 2 years ago, give or take. And yeah, it's a really good card. Helm and Painter Servant, yeah, I suppose that is a colorless combo. Blood Pot is a deck that I've been meaning to try out. That is on my to-do list at some point. Still got a few GoFundMe decks left to film that I'm going to hopefully finish up next week, and then I got some Patreon decks after that. So, got a bunch of those still. But yeah, once I finish all that up, I do want to just get back to kind of checking out other things. Blood Pot is on that list. Getting back to some CEDH will be interesting. I still want to try out Zerda. Gonna have to do some play testing with that before I can really put it to a video, though. Some people talking about Boros in the chat. So, like, one of the things that I feel is we're at turn 7 right now. We've got some cool stuff in play. We've got some damage on the table. If I wanted to be super cutthroat about things, I could probably try and take someone out in this next turn, assuming no, like, removal happens or anything like that. One of the things about playing, like, against value decks is if you just focus them early, then you don't have to deal with the value late game. And that is one of the things that I love about playing Boros decks. If, you know, you can just assemble a couple cards and be like, hey, if I need to take you out, I can. You know, I obviously have to make it back to your turn with your stuff. But sometimes when I'm playing other people's decks, and not all the time, but like, you get to that, sometimes you get to like turn 7 of a game and you've got some value-y stuff going, but you have no immediate way to like take someone out if they are a real problem. And sometimes I don't love that. Like, I just, you know, I like having that ability to be like, you know what, all my stuff's still in play. I can take someone out if I need to because, you know, they got off to some crazy start and, you know, you're not going to be able to catch them with removal. Like, you need multiple types of removal. And you just, like, don't have that. So, like, you know, just player removal is the best removal. I like just having that proactive, like, I don't need to sit back and kind of wait and generate a bunch of value things. And again, there's different play styles. It's not that I want to play that all the time. But, you know, if you're talking about slightly stronger decks, Locust God tends to be on the strong side. This is a watered-down version of it. But, you know, if you're playing against a deck like this, I want something that can kill someone really quickly and efficiently, and a creature with double strike and a bunch of swords is usually a pretty good way to do that, and or at least put some pressure on them so they can't just sit back and do the thing that they want to do, because you let powerful decks do the thing they want to do, and it's a bad time. You know, if you see a Golos at the table, that is me trying to assemble like the shortest path to lethal imaginable, because, you know, even by turn 7 against the Golos deck, they probably have like 10 or more lands in play. Here comes an Arcades our way. That one's got flying. We don't have anything for that. No other flyers currently. That's good news. Two 6 over to the Locust God. Sure. Always hope for Azuri Claw of Progress. Yeah, I mean, you know, at one point I did think that's the Simic one, right? I gotta check them up. I confused the two Azuris. Damage coming in our way. We're gonna take 3. Azuri. Yeah, that's the Simic one. So at one point I did think about going back and just trying to play through all the old commanders, commander product commanders. I didn't because it's gonna take a long time, and like, part of me is not sure that there's actually that much demand for someone to go back and look at all the old decks. Maybe there is. I don't know. I've tried doing like some throwback videos in the past, and they haven't exactly been the most popular things on the channel. Like, really, there is definitely like a very clear, the new cards tend to be very popular. So, I haven't done that, but it's something I've thought about, just kind of going back and revisiting all the old stuff that has been popular historically over the years. But we'll see. We'll see. I've lost the chat window. I have like a million things up on the screen on my other screen. And yeah. There's actually some cool stuff in the old Commander products, because like the thing you see now, especially now, is you'll only see like the most popular and the most powerful of the older Commander products, usually because there's like so much new product coming out. But there's actually a lot of cool cards that have just been like kind of buried and lost to time in those older products. You know, one that I think about is like Mazarek. Mazarek is a really cool green-black commander, but it's just not Marin. It gets overshadowed by Marin super hard. So, you know, it's a cool card and just doesn't get enough love. Here comes Will Kenrith into play. Can't say I love that. Opponent's going to give us a shuffle. Sure. Oh yeah, our giant is pro blue. That I do love. Is that a choose or a target? That's a target. Okay. So the giant is safe. Zerda is not. The Mimeoplasm is pretty cool. The Mimeoplasm, I think, it's a little too strong, like in my opinion. Or at least it was at the time. I mean, now it's fine. Like, power level is out of control. Sure, we'll take a shuffle. Why not? But yeah, back when it first came out, I thought that the original Commander product, Commanders, looking back at them, were a little too strong, and I think they kind of set a dangerous precedent of now all the Commander product Commanders are really strong, so, or many of them. And yeah, Mimeo is good. It's strong, though. It's a graveyard deck. Graveyard decks, you need graveyard interaction, and it's a thing that I'm usually not running enough of. It sucks having to devote a card to do that. That's why I like Remorseful Cleric a lot. Someone asks, is anyone worried that the Commander Legends product is going to introduce too many powerful things into the format? 100% yes. I'm worried about that. At the beginning of the year when they announced it, my concern was... Actually, let me do one thing. Let me draw a card right here real quick. Are we doing the Throne of the High Pharaoh? Are we doing the Throne of the High City? I think we are doing the Throne thing. I don't know that we can protect ourselves super well, though. I guess we could get Sunforger, but we don't have full Sunforger package. That's like a lot of creatures right there. So we're going to draw with the Arch. It's a land. Okay, well, now I'm definitely doing it. Pay 2. We'll pay 2. We become the Monarch. Yeah, these cool utility lands are really good with Zerda. Anyway, getting back to the Commander product thing. Yeah, Commander Legends. So I kind of posed this question somewhere, Twitter or somewhere, I don't remember now, in a video, wherever. How many, like, busted in half, overpowered commanders do you think will be released in Commander Legends? If there are 70 commanders, my money is on probably 5 or 10. 5 or 10 of them will be, like, Golos level dumb. At least 5. Potentially more. Hopefully not more. Do we draw with the Arch right here? I think we draw with the Arch right here. Yeah. Use this Braid of Fire mana. Use a Strip Mine. Use a Mountain. Boros card advantage. Messing with his Arch. Eye of Doom. What does this do? We looked at it earlier. Enters the battlefield. Each player chooses a non-land permanent, puts a Doom counter on it. Destroy each permanent with a Doom counter on it. Well, might be getting a look at this. Non-land permanent, huh? Play the Marsh Flats. So I think if we play the Marsh Flats, play the... Oh, it's non-land, right? Nope, it's not going to do what we want it to do. Well, play it anyway, right? Yeah, play it anyway. Bunch of open mana over there. Doesn't make me super happy. But anyway, yeah, with Commander Legends, I'm worried. I'm worried because their design philosophy has generally been do things for free, massive amounts of cost reduction. Your commander is a crazy draw engine. All that stuff is really powerful and makes it hard to play old commanders. Some thoughts on whether Inala is good or not very good. I haven't played Inala and I haven't seen that much Inala. Value is good any way you shape it, but yeah, I haven't really seen enough of Inala to know if it's like a really high powered deck or not. But yeah, I'm legitimately worried that there'll be at least like 5 Golos type cards in Commander Legends. And, you know, after we've already had like got a bunch of really powerful things last year, there's been a bunch of like decently powerful things this year. Probably not as crazy as like Urza, Golos, Kirik. Not as strong as that, but still like I would say stronger than average on a lot of the commander stuff. Like you just look at something like Jirina. Jirina is a lot of free value as the game kind of goes along. Who's getting attacked? There's a Kenrith over there. We'll send Zerda. Actually, you know what? We can just shoot it with the... Yeah, okay. So, back to the Locust God. Never actually got that damage in on them earlier. Still a lot of walls kind of piling up over there. It's all a little bit scary. Yeah, I think we're leaving the 10-10 back. There's a pretty sizable ground army. Let's activate the Stone Hero Giant. Sunforger time? Probably Sunforger time, but I don't actually know that there's like that many Sunforger things left in the deck. Choices are Sword of the Animist, Hammer of Nizant. Hammer's not bad. 2 blue players, maybe a little bit less. With blue, you're more likely to get bounced than you are to get destroyed. Yeah, I'm looking at the deck. I don't think there's like actually that many Sunforger cards in the deck. Again, this is just like a testing list, so it's not, you know, doesn't have all the usual stuff that I really like. Maybe just Mask of Memory. Yeah, let's just get Mask of Memory. We need to draw some cards. Free equip to the Giant. What are the Chris in chat points out, look how many salty cards were from just this year. What salty cards you're talking about? I know they're there. I can't think of them off the top of my head while I'm trying to like tell interesting stories and play this game and like not make mistakes. Using too much brain power to do that already. All right, we got a bunch of sword triggers and a mass trigger. Loving this. Let us Mask of Memory trigger to the bottom. Sinew and Steel. Let's get rid of this Will Kenrith. Let's get rid of this. I think Crashing Drawbridge is actually a little bit scary. Let's get rid of that. I would like to get rid of the boots at some point also, but for the time being, let's get rid of this Changeling. I don't really know. That copy ability makes me nervous. Makes me feel like it's part of some combo. Not really knowing what it's supposed to do means let's shoot it. Crack the Marsh Flats. See if we have a Mistveil Plains. Hopefully we do. Grab the Mistveil Plains. Lands untap. Fire and Ice trigger. Swords are fun. Get so much value out of these swords. Sinew and Steel. Oh man, Sinew and Steel's blown up 4 things this game. That makes me so happy. If you're on a budget, of all the X and Y swords, I think Sinew and Steel is the best value. They're about $8 in paper, and I think it gives you the most for that amount of money. Someone was asking about Truth and Justice earlier. Honestly, I would go for Sinew and Steel. Kill 2 planeswalkers and 2 pretty good artifacts. Mask of Memory trigger. Discard the mountain? Echo Chamber. What does this do? I put it in the deck. I don't remember. An opponent chooses a creature they control. Create a copy of that creature. Oh, that's so much fun. Okay. Play this Mana Crypt. Opponent chooses target creature they control. Create a token of it. Exile a token at the beginning of the next end step. Only when sorcery. Yeah. Bunch of removal in hand. Play the Echo Chamber. No red cards, so we can just tap out our red mana. Potentially, like, all these things say draw a card on them. I feel like many of these. We can untap this and potentially do it multiple times in a turn, but there isn't anything that's like super interesting. What's this thing do? Put 2 lands from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. We can put 1 land in tapped. That's something, right? All right, let's do it. Pay 2. I think if we use, yeah, we'll just use this thing. Choose an opponent. Choosing Xeno. Echo Chamber time. We get a Patron of the Moon. Activate Patron of the Moon. Put a land into play tapped. It's a Scavenger Grounds. Bam. Got there. I don't know why that just made me so happy. Let's pass. Okay, first look at Echo Chamber. Not amazing. Not amazing. Opponent choosing. Maybe limits the power level of the card a little bit, but yeah. Still haven't dealt with this Teferi's Ageless Insight. I'm sure that's going to be a problem at some point. We got some triggers at the end step here. We're still the Monarch. Getting more card draw. Someone says Angus needs a reprint. Is Angus on the reserve list? If it's a rare, it probably is. It probably should be. Because the uncommons from that set, I don't think I have any abilities. Angus is in fact on the reserve list, so that's going to be a losing battle for you, friend. Currently, according to Goldfish, $205. That is pretty expensive. See, if you had a proxy in Angus, that wouldn't bother me, because I get it. It's only expensive because it's old and on the reserve list, and, you know, they printed 6 copies of it in all of history, and, you know, yeah, it's $200 now. So if you need a proxy in Angus, by all means. I have a friend that every time he would look through my binder, I have a Hazes on Tamar that I got like 10 or 12 years ago for like $7 or something, and they've also gotten very expensive, and just every time he flipped through my binder, he's like, is that for trade? I'm like, no, I just like it. I like looking at it. I like old Legends cards. And eventually he finally bought his own, so that was super cool, because now he gets to play Hazes on Tamar, and he doesn't have to ask me about mine every single time. So, you know, win-win right there. Here's the Locust God. Yep. Argent Shifting Flame. We haven't dealt with that yet. Probably should have at some point. Yeah, okay. This all seems bad. This is gonna make a... Ooh. Do we pop this thing right now? Cause... we don't have, like, Sunforger protection. If he casts a spell, he's gonna draw... he doesn't have that many cards in hand. Okay. I think we can survive a moment here before that becomes super necessary. Moves the boots. Do the Locust God. Sure. Echo Chamber gets around protection. Let's see. Chooses target creature. So it's still a target, but I guess it gets around hexproof. It doesn't have a color, so it not so like Swords of X and Y won't save it, but Lightning Greaves I think still makes it an illegal target because it does say target. There's a Kindred. Oh my god. That's a problem, right? So Arjun's going to trigger. They're going to draw 2 cards. There's Locust God triggers. And whenever they attack, they're going to draw 1,000,000. Okay. That might be worth a Heliod's Intervention. Got a stop on combat for opponents. That card's pretty busted. Who was it? Benny. Was it Benny? Yeah, Benny put out an article the other day. Was talking about cards that he thinks were mistakes from each of the Commander products, and he had this one listed. It is very strong. I guess my problem is that the other cards in this cycle aren't that good. Like, this thing is just way better than the other 4 cards in that cycle. Wouldn't be as annoying if, like, the other ones were better. They played them way too safe, other than the blue one, which is just ridiculous. So let's get rid of some stuff right here. We've got some mana to our name. 1, 2, 3, maybe less mana than I thought. Yeah, less mana than I thought. So 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. We can shoot 2 things. Well, 2 of those things probably need to be this, and this. So let's do that. Oh, we can Mana Crypt a bunch of times for some extra mana? Okay, well, let's do that. Untap the Mana Crypt. I want to just realize Manifold Key makes our thing unblockable. We can start commander damaging everyone. Completely missed that. Whoops. Untap the Mana Crypt. Tap the Mana Crypt, get some mana, use the Voltaic key to untap the Mana Crypt, get a little bit more mana. Somehow we ended up with a Worn Power Stone. Oh, that was probably the Monarch trigger. Tap the Mana Crypt again, get a little bit of extra mana. All right, so now we can go X4. X4 is pretty cool. Heliod's Intervention, destroy some stuff. Let's go Ageless Insight, Kindred Discovery, Lightning Greaves, and High Alert. Normally I like to blow up the Mana Rocks too, but we've still got the Sinew and Steel to do that. Yeah, we just happen to be out of mana in this moment. If I were paying closer attention about my mana usage, probably could have shot some of this stuff earlier, but again, talking to chat. So getting rid of most of the nonsense right there. Locust God has been neutered. But we'll still probably want to deal with them real soon right here because it's still the Locust God. It's still really good. Although the Wall's opponent, a lot of power over there, and we haven't really... we don't have like a full Sunforger package to hide behind, so... we've already burned the Teferi's Protection. I don't think there's... Oh, okay. There's a Comeuppance in the deck, so we can buy a turn with that. But the blue deck could have counters. So you got to be careful there. Someone points out we need a green-red sword, a blue-black sword, and a white-green sword. Yeah, I've thought about them a little bit. I think for the white effect, you could think about like a disenchant type of thing, which I think could be cool. Something that blows up enchantments. For the green stuff, I don't know, because they've like ramping is powerful, and it depends on how strong they want to make it. Like Feast and Famine is insane. I thought about like a ramping growth effect for some of the green stuff could be interesting. But that would be like significantly worse than Feast and Famine. So I don't know. But the red-green one, I think you can do some interesting stuff. You could do something where, like, the creature gets bigger and then it fights something. And I think that could be a cool little thing. Don't know that it's, like, the most powerful thing ever, but it seems interesting. Spent a little bit of time thinking about it. Not a ton. In general, I think it's cool when they do, like, interesting things instead of, like, the most on-the-nose, like... Sort of Fire and Ice is cool, but it's really, like, on the nose. It's like, okay, you draw a card, blue, you do 2 damage, red. It's not, you know, I don't know. I guess I get annoyed about it because, like, Sword of War and Peace, I think had a lot more potential to be really cool. It's good in 1v1, but for a commander, it's pretty lackluster. Life gain decks, probably about the only place that they really go. Oh, opponent sending everything. We're going to feel this. We are going to feel this. What's the biggest one? There's an 0-4. Whenever a creature you control blocks, gain 2 life. Yeah, 0-3. That's a 6. 6 is pretty big. Can't block the commander because it is flying. Gonna feel this. Block the 6, I guess. Hope there's no crazy pump spell. Down to 13. Whew. Oh, right. Monarch token. They get the Monarch token. What about green doing devotion-based ramp? Green needs no additional ramp. Green has all of the ramp that it needs. Oh, you're talking about swords? Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. I forgot what we're talking about. I don't know. I think that's too conditional for the swords. Like, the condition is you need to equip the sword. You then need to successfully hit with the sword. I think you don't want an additional condition on top of everything else. You just want the thing to happen at that point. What's the name of the wheel creature on Locust God's Field? Oh, Arjun the Shifting Flame. That is out of Commander 15, I think. I believe it's in the Mizzix deck, if I'm not mistaken. Creature version of Mind Moil. Yes, indeed. Ramp on a sword would indeed be useful in Boros and Mono White. That's a Nezzle You want a card's pretty good? Nezzle Brings it back to our turn. Mana Crypt, Braid of Fire time. What if it Gaia's Cradled on hit? Yeah, that's a pretty good condition. I mean, it's still conditional, but if you only have one creature, you know, I don't know. It could be very good. The upside on it is certainly very high. We'll make some mana. We'll flip a Mana Crypt. Go Tails. Won the flip. Do we just activate Echo Chamber as many times as we possibly can? That seems kind of fun, right? Oh, it's sorcery speed. We can't use the mana to do it. Okay. That being the case, let's just draw a card. Activate the Arch. Any lands we need to blow up? That's a Lost Veil. I don't think so. I think the Academy of Ruins, maybe. No artifacts in graveyard yet. We can wait. Use the Strip Mine. We'll draw a card. Shield of the Ages, yes. I forgot I put that in here. Nice. Okay. Do we cough out a bunch of mana rocks? Probably. Let's use the Mana Crypt, use the Voltaic Key. Untap the Mana Crypt. Make some mana. Get a Thran Dynamo. Doesn't look like we're going to need the Flamekin Village at all. Nezelhall will trigger. You want to see Colorless Devotion? That's kind of a weird... You want to see that? You see that on... what's the name of that card? The Colossus guy. Gets cheaper for mana rocks. Metalwork Colossus? I think that's probably the closest thing to like Colorless Devotion. Next, let's use the Thran Dynamo. Get Worn Power Stone. What if the white half O-ringed tied to the sword? It's interesting. O-ring's always risky, though, especially in Commander, because if the thing goes away, people get their stuff back. I've been messing with, what's the angel that landfalls? Admonition Angel. Been messing with that, and, like, you know, sometimes someone plays a board wipe, and then they get their big thing back, and you're like, well, this sucked. This was not hard removal, and now I'm paying the price. Here's a shield. Let's get the Shield of the Ages in. Actually, nope. Do this differently. Use this mana. Activate the Echo Chamber. Choose Xeno, because he has 2 really good creatures. Locust God, unfortunately, has some tokens. Yeah, if the white half exiled the permanent until the sword left, it wouldn't be bad for sure. You know, I'd probably need to playtest it. Given that like these swords have stayed in play all game, I mean, yeah, maybe it's great. Maybe it's like pretty good removal most of the time. I don't know. Would need to see it. Would need to see it. Next, let's make our Zerta unblockable. Double check this. Target creature can't be blocked. Okay, yeah, that's exactly what we want. So I see that I was skewing Voltron with this build of the deck. Some of the other testing versions of the deck, I had just like a lot of these weird Echo Chamber type cards in here. But I also did just want to test what it's like to just jam a bunch of swords on it as well. So far, it's going pretty well. Swords, pretty decent. Pretty decent. Anything else that we need to do? I guess we can get the Shield of the Ages in. I think we got to take out the Locust God. We got to take someone out. So I vote the Locust God because the Locust God will make me really salty if I lose to it. I can handle losing to the other 2 decks much better. The Locust God just drives me insane. So attack there, attack there. What are we doing with this thing? Attack into the Arcades opponent. Uh-oh. Did I just attack into a rift? I might have did the no-no. It's an evacuation. Ugh. Oh, yeah. Not sure that... Oh, God. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Pretty bad. I guess we activate the Stonehewer Giant. We have already used Teferi's Protection, so it's not going to be that. What are we getting? Hammer? Sunforger? Get Sunforger. Boots wouldn't be terrible either. Put that on there. Watch all of our creatures get bounced. Ugh. That kind of resets the turn order too, because we've already tapped out. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I suppose the sword value, yeah, denying us the sword value is a legit strategy. Yep, is that we're going to lose it. Instant speed, board wipe. Evacuation. So both of our creatures getting bounced, and we do not really have a way to replay them, so I guess we pass the turn. Sadness. Echo Chamber and Nezzle Hall end step triggers. Yeah, I didn't play around that at all. Could have played around that better. Didn't notice all the open mana over there. Oops. But I don't know. Even if we don't attack them at all, they probably still just don't want us getting all the sword stuff, because them swords, they generate value. I get it. I probably would have done the same thing. But it's kind of like we just lost our turn, almost. You know, that was a big part of what we had going. We tapped out, unfortunately. It's all bad. It's all bad. So, great example. Removal really does make a game. Like, I don't find a game where someone just like races to the thing and does it as fast as possible particularly interesting. I think removal is what makes the game interesting, because, you know, the board's been reset. It's reset heavily in opponent's favor and very heavily not in our favor. And, you know, I think this is what makes Commander Commander, because other formats you don't have to worry about removal from all sides. Like, you know, you blow up the thing, and if you see they're tapped out, then you know they're not going to do anything about it, which is good. So yeah, I think that's what makes the game interesting. Because think about our first game too. We saw the Sram game. The single combat really made the game. Gargos was going to have a field day if we didn't play the single combat. Just a single board wipe just to kind of slow everything down, reset everything. Really kind of shaped the game in our favor in that one. And yeah. Locust God back to play. Argent back to play. Now, the one thing we do have is we have a bunch of haste. So, or at least one set of haste with Flamekin Village right here. And that can be very interesting. Problem is going to be trying to re-equip all the swords. Actually, well, Zerta helps with that. Zerta makes it much less painful. Question is, do we go in on Stonehewer or do we go in on Zerta? That I don't know yet. Yep, gotta be ramping. Always gotta ramp hard. I've been thinking about, like, what are the most important elements of Commander? Like, if you're trying to tell, like, a new player, like, what are the things you need to do the most in this game? I think ramp, above literally everything else, is ramp. Like, because from there, it's either your deck can be proactive and you can kind of just try to win the game as fast as possible, or if you want to get into, you know, removal and board wipes and everything else, or if you just want to, like, dirtle and generate a bunch of value. I think it all starts with just having a lot of mana. Now, the other stuff is important also, but I think, like, if you're going to tell someone one single thing, just have a lot of ramp. If they finish the sword cycle, would I make a deck with all 10 swords? I mean, I probably have to now that you mention it. Yeah, we'd probably have to do one for science. What commander do you run? Zerta is a possibility. Sir Gwyn is a possibility. Getting all swords into play, that's going to be hard. That is not an easy thing to do. You probably need the Stonehewer Giant to do it. Maybe you make a special deck that can untap the Stonehewer Giant multiple times, or put like illusionist bracers on it so that you can, yeah, it's going to be hard to get 10 swords. We've got what, 3 of the X and Ys, 3 of the X and Ys, a Black Blade, a Sunforger. So that's, 5 relatively similar costed equipments, and I don't know that we had a lot of time or mana to get many more than that. That deck will have no other 3-drops in it. That deck will have, that'll be so crowded at 3 mana. Have I been facing Golos or Sisay shrines? I've seen a couple weak attempts at it. I haven't seen one that's really kind of performed up to expectation. I'm sure that it can be done. You could look at like Enduring Ideal, something that I played the other day. I think makes it a lot better. Someone mentioned earlier on doing a Primal Surge kind of thing, and that's certainly a way you could look at it too, to just like, you won't go infinite with Primal Surge, but even if you get like 5 or 10 of them, I think that's a pretty good place to be. So no, I haven't really seen any good versions of it yet. I'm sure they're out there, and I'm sure it can be done. Just haven't run into them yet. Opponent recast their stuff, drawn some cards. Yep, doing the thing. Someone says pay attention to mana curve. Yes, mana curve does matter. You can have some 8-drops. You cannot have a ton of 8-drops. There is a limit to the number of each card you can run in each mana slot. I think the big one to pay attention to is 5 mana. This deck actually very light at 5 mana, although we have a lot of swords, so those are kind of 5-drops. These are basically all 5-drops. Shield Sphere, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, the mana curve does matter. Also, you can get away with a higher curve if you have a lot of mana ramp. So even if you want to run like the Angels deck, which has a very high curve, you just jam 15 pieces of mana ramp in there, and then you can play all the big stuff. So again, I think everything kind of starts with ramp. If you want to play big Timmy creatures, ramp really hard. Opponent gets a Monarch draw at their end step. Yep. Yeah, like you can't build a deck that's like entirely Magmatic Forces either. You can have some number of 7-drops in a deck, and especially non-green. Green, it's a little bit different just because green makes large amounts of mana, but non-green, you can have a couple 7-drops. Generally around 4 or 5 is probably where most decks are going to max out. The Angel deck has 7, I think, which is a lot, and then it has like a couple 8-drops and a couple 9-drops, and that's about as high about as high as you really want to go. And even then, if you just draw weird hands, sometimes you are like very much stuck on, I'm going to play 1 creature a turn and hope they don't get blown up, because at 8 and 9 mana creatures, you definitely can't really play multiple cards a turn. Sisay a little bit too slow for shrines. I could see that, but that might also be a ramp issue. How do I feel about toolbox decks? I think I only really play one toolbox deck, and that's my Legendary Blades deck with Sisay. They're fun, but also like when I'm playing Commander, especially when I'm playing with friends, I'm not like super in the zone. Like, when I'm doing video stuff, I just finished building the deck. I've been thinking about the deck for the past hour probably. When I'm showing up to the shop with my Sisay deck, it's like I've never played the deck before and I've completely forgotten every card in it. And with that Sisay deck, you need to know every card in that deck. So, it's not the easiest deck to play all the time, and it can be a little bit time consuming for me to like tutor and kind of look through everything. I'm like, what's the best card for this situation? And surprise, it feels like I should know all the cards in the deck by now, but I generally have to kind of flip through everything once just to remember. But yeah, toolbox decks are definitely interesting though. Survival of the Fittest is like a really interesting toolbox card. One that I really haven't seen much of at all. It's a good card, but no one seems to run it. Like, yes, you can just end the game with Survival of the Fittest, but you can also just do really cool stuff with it that doesn't specifically end the game. So I don't know. So Nezzle Hall's back, Goblin Engineer's back, dumps an Amulet of Vigor into the graveyard. Seems good. Someone says, I do play a lot of decks. Yes, I counted. I played 150 different decks in 2019. Yeah, it's impossible to remember what's in anything after doing that. Opponent's Thaumatic Compass is going to flip over at the end step. Someone, and the reason I counted, someone like left me a salty comment or an annoying comment that was like, I made a mistake in a deck, and I think it was like a Sultai deck or something. So, you know, mistakes happen when I play those. And they were like, you suck, whatever. And I went and I checked and I counted. I'm like, I played 150 decks this year. I counted last year, obviously, but yeah, you know, you're gonna forget what's in your deck. You're gonna forget what you're doing. You're not gonna remember every single combo in every single deck when you look at that many different decks. Yeah, we're gonna add some mana. We get 3 red mana. Question is, what are we doing with that mana? I mean, we should probably draw a card, right? Draw a card, maybe act. No, that's still sorcery. Getting punished on the sorcery thing. Where's the card draw one? Activate the card draw one. Use the mana crypt also. I don't know. Maybe we didn't want to do that. I'm not sure now. You know what we could do? We could play an austere command, just blow up all creatures. That'd be pretty good. Ooh, they can't exile. They'll be able to exile Nezalhall on the card that they draw from the spell, but it does leave them empty-handed. It's not awful. But I think we probably also just need like a Sunforger and have Sunforger protection up, because I think we're liable to take some damage here. Maybe we didn't need to draw the card right there. Probably shouldn't have did that. Oops. I think we're on Cast Zerta. Actually, let's do it this way. Let's make triple red. Make it colorless. Cast Zerta. Oh, we've got Blackblade Reforged. Yeah, we can make Zerta huge. Okay. I think we're on the make Zerta huge plan. Eliminate someone. Spire's still a problem. How do we deal with Spires? We need a Champion's Helm or something. Oh, we use the Strip Mine. Crap. Crap. Well, hopefully they don't want to punish us. Equip the Feast and Famine. Actually, no. We need this to give this thing haste. Give it haste. Tap this thing for some mana. Equip this thing. Equip this thing. So far, I'm feeling Zerta. Zerta really good for these when you have to re-equip. Definitely feeling that. Re-equip this thing. Where's that Blackblade at? Did I lose it? Anyone see the Blackblade? I literally can't see the Blackblade. Is it gone? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Can't see Blackblade Reforged. No idea where it is. Tap this thing. Equip the Sunforger. Found it. It was behind a token. Found it. Equip that there. Sunforger equipped. Sunforger is equipped. We're going to want to leave some mana up for that. Get the Mask of Memory on there. Use that thing. I'm going to hold my land back for right now. Swing into the Locust God. Hopefully they don't Spires us. Pray for no spires. Pray for no spires. Pray for no spires. Down they go. Nice. Sort of Sinew and Steel. No legal targets. All right. Oh, no Planeswalkers, rather. But we got a Shield Sphere that we can shoot. Shoot the Shield Sphere. Fire and Ice. Any O2s? No O2s. Guess it's got to be the Engineer. Feast and Famine. Mask of Memory. Is this any player? Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell. Okay. We weren't. It's not Niv Mizzet. Niv Mizzet, we can cast spells also to do the thing. Opponent's going to put Amulet of Vigor on top of their library, sure. Someone asked about Sylvar and Trin. I've seen the deck one time. It was decent. Like, there's a decent set of abilities between the two commanders. Like, Indestructible is a really powerful word. So that in and of itself makes it, you know, very playable. Is it the best thing ever? I'm not sure. I'd have to look at it more. But it's at least very solid. We need to discard a card. We'll discard the Mountain. We got the Astronaut Silex. Excited about that. Target player looks at the top 3 cards of the library, puts 1 back, and exiles the rest. Great Furnace. Sinew and Steel. Let's play Tithe. Kind of want some dual lands. Our colors are like pretty sketchy right now. Nuzzle Hall will draw. Yep. Let's get Plateau. Sweet, we get 2. I didn't do the land count, but getting both right there. Play the Plateau. Let's see. And then I don't feel like we need tons of card draw at this moment. So let's get the Signet into play. Oh, that's all. Continues to trigger non-creature spells. It's bad. It's bad. They're going to have a lot of cards. Play the Silex. And I think we'll pass like that. We'll leave some mana up to mess with our abilities. See what happens. See what happens. Gonna have to probably use Comeuppance and hope that there's no counterspell. Someone talking about discovering lines of play that they didn't initially build into the deck that you discover after playing for years. Yeah, that will happen. You know, as much as I've played Aurelia, even like changing out a card or two can you figure out new things. Like I'm still figuring out things that I could have been doing with Aurelia like years ago. You know, you start looking at like Goblin Welder and Duretti. There's a lot of interesting artifact type stuff you can do there that I kind of wish I had been wise to back in the day. You know, and kind of taking some of those tips from Duretti decks and just be like, okay, I can play a very artifact heavy value game is a thing that you can do. Yeah, so, you know, one of the things that I look for now is like there are like pockets of cards that I tend to start grouping together of, you know, how do you make this deck better? You know, obviously Feast and Famine's where is it? Not that one. Where is it? Feast and Famine. Feast and Famine's a crazy card, but like if you're talking about Feast and Famine being in your deck, then you can also think about something like Waves of Aggression. Waves of Aggression is also a good card on its own, but gets even better if you have a Feast and Famine. Or even just like a Neheb, something that's going to generate some extra mana for you, and you can kind of just like keep putting, you know, more stuff into your deck. You may not run like Gift of Estates or Land Tax in every single deck, but if you have Waves of Aggression, then you probably want to have those because now you've got some extra lands to pitch to those type of effects. So there's just like a lot of little things that, you know, you can kind of do that you can get these like little combos, little synergies going that, you know, maybe the card by itself is decent, but getting two of them together really kind of puts it over the top. Yeah, of course, aggravated assault with Feast and Famine too, right? And that's also another great point. Is like, yes, so if you're running Feast and Famine, well, then you're probably also running aggravated assault. If you don't have Feast and Famine, if you don't have Neheb, probably not running aggravated assault because 5 or 8 mana rather to get that first extra attack. It's kind of a lot. It's kind of a lot. So, you know, if you, in the absence of Feast and Famine Neheb, then yeah, no aggravated assault. Probably going straight to Waves of Aggression and Aurelia, assuming Aurelia's already in there, but. This is a long game. Yeah, this game's it's slowed down. It's slowed down. I'm glad we took a player out. That does speed the game up a little bit from that point. Oh man, I've used what 45 minutes of my clock. Yeah, I'm not playing particularly fast. Chatting a little too much, not holding up priority a little too much. All that stuff. Do I think I'd have time to play the Kethril deck? Certainly not tonight, but at some point maybe. Eternal Witness getting back. Oko. No, not Oko. Not Oko. Oh, God. All of our beautiful stuff. All of our beautiful stuff is about to be demolished. Our creature has protection from the colors. That's good. But our swords do not. Double Master's the best set you've ever opened? First Mana Crypt? Yeah, that's cool. I've never opened a Mana Crypt. I've bought a Mana Crypt, but I think I traded for one. I forget how I got my first Mana Crypt now. Oh, I traded for it. I traded a Sword of Fire and Ice for it when the first reprint. Oh my God, my alarm's going off. When the first reprint of Mana Crypt came out, and they were actually about similar in price at the time. Yeah, Double Masters does actually look like a really cool set. I am not usually big on opening boxes, but if you're going to open a box, Double Masters probably the one if you're a Commander player. Most of the cards, most of the rares are usable in a Commander capacity somewhere, so that is a really cool thing. I've never seen anything quite that good. Opponent going for a Sunforger. Well, activate the Sunforger. We should just comeuppance right now because that'll keep us from dying. We got Swords returns it up. Faith Shield. We can Faith Shield it. Then we just die to combat damage, though. That's unfortunate. Well, play the comeuppance then. Opponent gets to draw a card. Yep. So what happens is it transforms or get destroyed. Loses all abilities. Oh my God, that's the worst of... That's so bad. Like you can't even like sack it and bring it. You have to sack it and then bring it back. There's the counter spell we talked about. Good game. We in trouble. How much damage do you think we can prevent with the Shield of Ages? Probably not enough to stop all this stuff. And then certainly not enough to stop the Nezzel Hall after it. Eternal Witness. Getting back Shield Sphere. Let's just think for a moment, make sure there's nothing like wild that we can do that'll get us out of this jam. That's sorcery only. Not crazy impressed with this. The sorcery only is pretty limiting. So maybe not as good as I was hoping. Also, opponent choosing, also not great. At that, for the mana that we spent on this, I'd rather just have a Hate Mirage. We could have got some extra Card draws, probably could add a Nezzle Hall, probably could add a Locust God, stuff like that. Someone opened a Kalia, Blightsteel, Avacyn, and Cycrift. Yep, those are some pretty good hits. Those are cards that I could certainly use more of. Definitely Avacyn. I've been needing a second Avacyn for a long time. Here comes the damage. All right, do the math. See if the shield can save us. Nope, there's one more coming. I doubt it with that. Well, we can throw Sunforger under the bus. That's a start. Turn off auto yields. Block the biggest one. That's going to be this 05. That actually gets Sunforger into the graveyard, which is good. If we survive, might be able to do some stuff with that. We've got the Mistveil Plains already. Opponent's going to Aspire is the one that's attacking them. That's fine. After that, we've got 8, 11, and 14 damage coming our way. Time to get busy with the shield. Shield of Ages, do your thing. What does it say? Prevent the next one damage that would be dealt to you this turn. I think I will. Let's tap up all of our mana. Oh, hey, you want what we have? We have Mana Crypts. And, oh, we have Thran Dynamo. That's what we have. Okay. Untap another artifact. Untap this Thran Dynamo. Then we need to... Wait, did it not... Oh, we untapped the Warm Power Stone. That's not good. Missed. Swing and a miss. Do that. Untap the correct card this time. Hopefully we don't die as a result of that. I mean, I guess we're still dead if the Nezzle Hall wants to take us out, but the question of whether they want to do that or not. They still have to deal with the walls also. They have 9 cards in hand. Removal could be a thing, but... tap this for some mana. And start clicking this shield repetitively. So we're going to get a protection of 8 on the shield. Doesn't seem that bad. It's not like the most mana efficient thing ever, but... in this moment, seems okay. Seems okay. So, preventing all the damage with the shield. Someone got a borderless foil Avacyn Topper today. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. People talking about not always wanting to do the blockbuster trades. Yeah, there's nights I roll into the shop that I'm not looking to make blockbuster trades. Some nights I am, but if I'm like tired, not having the best day, then yeah, you know, not necessarily looking to trade my big stuff, especially if if I know I'm in a weird mood and I'm just like not thinking straight, then I don't want to be giving up big pieces for things that I may not need. We survive at 4. We'll see if Nezzle Hall wants to finish us. Not incredible. Like, I think Force Field's probably, way better. That reduces everything to 1, right? But pretty expensive in paper, but it wasn't awful. We ramped. We have pretty good mana, and yeah, kept us alive. That's something. Insert Captain America meme? No, I don't think it will. Does Nuzzle Hall want to take us out? Do they have a board wipe? What do they want to do? It's actually Will and Rowan, by the way. Master the Way. Draw a card. Deals damage to any target equal to the number of cards in your hand. Gonna shoot the Arcades. They could have just, like, domed us and taken us out of the game, so I'm thinking they want us to take down the wall opponent. Gonna give a creature indestructible. Okay, Arcades gonna survive. Resolute Watchdog. Was that a creature? Resolute Watchdog, Defender. Sacrifice it. Target creature you control gains indestructible till end of turn. If that didn't have Defender, that would be an excellent card for Winota. Someone says they rarely trade things like duels. Yeah, I especially don't like trading things on the reserve list because, you know, there's that whole, like, yeah, they come down a little bit. They never really come down that much. So I generally won't trade away my reserve list cards. I will try to trade expensive things into more reserve list cards whenever I can. Wayfarer's Bauble. Selfless Savior is Resolute Watchdog without Defender. I'm going to look this one up. That is not a card on my radar. Selfless Savior. Core set 2021. It's new. That explains it. Sacrifice it. Another creature you control again. Yeah, it's a dog. It's non-human. Yeah, I'm on board. Sign me up. Here comes a Spark Double. Copy Nuzzle Get ridiculous. Yeah, I'm all on board for the Selfless Savior. Looks great. Is opponent going to kill us? Let's find out. Yes. Yeah, they probably should. They probably should. We have so much sword value going on that probably needs to happen. Letting us untap doesn't seem correct. But they do have to deal with the Wall's opponent. And Wall's opponent has a lot of damage. Opponent is now tapped out. So, yeah, I don't know. Our deck is a little bit easier to interact with. Although we had Strip Mine in play, so we could just shoot the Spires. So they have to account for that. But we had an easy path to remove this opponent, and I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough call right there. Any sort of pump effect from the walls, and I think it's going to be a good game. Selfless Savior 2? No mana cost on that, which also makes it ridiculous. The other one had a mana cost. Looks ridiculous. Ephemerate coming back. Rebound. By the way, now that I'm eliminated, if you guys like what I do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell icon. Get notified of new videos. This past week, I released the Kenrith's Epic Enchantments videos, and that was probably one of my favorite videos from the past few months or so. Just so ridiculous. So definitely recommend you check that out. If you really like what I do and want to help support financially, you can check out my Patreon. That is patreon.com/commanderreplay. I have a Discord chat just for Patreons only. I check in there a few times a day, usually chatting with people about stuff. If you're into MTGO, it's really good for that, getting some games going and being able to talk about the decks. But yeah, other than that, other ways you can support also, just follow me on Twitter. I'm trying to get my Twitter following up a little bit. And, that's completely free. So, yeah. Like and subscribe. Enjoy the videos. I was feeling good this week. Got a lot of videos done, so that was super awesome. Feeling pretty good about next week, too. Got a bunch more cool things on the way. Someone asked about Patreon. Yes, the only tier where I play Patreon decks with frequency is the Angel tier, which is the most expensive one. But occasionally, like today, when I was streaming, I wasn't sure what I was going to stream, so I just kind of like, hey, what should I play today? And, someone just threw a deck list at me. So, in general, the Angel tier only, but on occasion, especially if I have time. For the most part, I don't have a lot of extra time right now, just because I'm still trying to get through GoFundMe decks and other things, but when I do have extra time, I do get to look at other Patreon's decks, and I will play those when I have the chance, but doesn't always work out that way. Wall of Hope. Arcades trigger. There's like a million things going on over here. I don't even know what they have. Does it just go wide? Palace Jailer. Palace Jailer is a really good card. As far as white card draw goes, I think this is actually one of your better options. And I think it's a card that, because it came out with like a weird set, Conspiracy or something like that, that I don't think it gets played nearly as much as it can be. So if you're mono white, I would definitely check out Palace Jailer. Been using it in Winota, and it's been insane. You flip it off the top, get rid of their most important creature, and you're drawing some extra cards on the backside. All really good stuff. So I think this is going to be incorporated into more mono white decks that I do just in general. Resetting a commander is really powerful, especially when you're playing against stronger decks. Getting the extra card draw, just a lot of abilities jammed into there. So good. So opponent loses one of their... They lose a Spark Double copy of Nezelhall. Does opponent have 25 damage right here? That's the question. Orator of Ojutai. Yep. Enters the battlefield. Arcades draws a card. Yep. There's 3. There's 3. That's 6. That's 11. It's 14. 18. That's 22. Those are summoning sick. I'm seeing 22 damage right now. That would leave them on a Mana Crypt flip, but they do not have a Mana Crypt flip. So big attack into the Will and Rowan opponent. Someone asked, does one ticket equal $1? Yes. Give or take. Sometimes you can find tickets for about 90 cents, 95 cents, something like that. But in general, like if you're buying them from the Wizard store, it'll be $1 plus sales tax. How much do I think it gets started? How much do I think it costs to get started on MTGO? It's a good question. I've been on MTGO for a long time, so I can't give you like the best answer, but I would say anything around like 50 or 100 would get you many of the things that you want to play. So here's what I would say if you want to get into MTGO. Figure out an amount of money that you can spend, 50, 100, 200, whatever it is. I mean, you could even do 20. Like people build 20 ticket decks. And you could certainly make that work. I would say probably 50 is a good starting number. I think you can get a very good deck, or, you can get a deck that's going to hold up in most places, even multiple decks for that matter, on 50 tickets. And here's my thing. Get colored staples first. If you have some colors that you'd like to play more than others, get your Demonic Tutors, get your Survival of the Fittest, Eternal Witness, get those sort of things. Get some of the colorless staples. Soul Ring is really expensive right now, last I looked, unless it came down. But Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, stuff like that. Your Mana Rocks, maybe an Ugin. And then, so of 50 tickets, I would say spend 35 tickets on just like staples that are going to go in every deck, and then spend maybe 10 or 15 on deck specific stuff. You can change those ratios around a little bit if you want. Do not get fetch lands first. Fetch lands will just burn through a budget super quickly. Fetch lands are generally the most expensive piece of a deck now. Even dual lands, most of them are cheaper. Most of them are usually just a couple tickets. So don't go for fetch lands. Use the Mirage fetch lands if you have to. But yeah, on 20 tickets, you can make a deck. On 50 tickets, you can make a very solid deck. Anything beyond that, sure, absolutely. But yeah, I would say like 20 to 50 is going to be a good starting place. My Aurelia deck, which I think is like 600 in paper, is about 200 tickets, but that's like fully loaded fetch lands and everything. So, you know, you cut the fetch lands out of there, that probably cuts $70, $80 out of the deck. Cadus, who's in the game, he was the Locust God, says that be surprised when random cards are expensive. Yeah. So the print cycles on Magic Online are very different than paper. Some things, especially like stuff out of commander sets, can get weirdly expensive, but cards out of like mass-produced sets can often be very cheap. So, actually, Dockside's 22 ticks. Is that someone saying that? I gotta check. That's actually like fairly close to its paper price. Confirmed 22 tickets. So 22 tickets, 30 in paper. That's actually very similar. A lot of times you'll sometimes see like expensive cards that are very cheap on Magic Online, or vice versa. No reserve list on Magic Online. So, you know, dual lands, a lot of them are like 2 to 5 tickets. Survival of the Fittest, pretty cheap. What's the other ridiculous green thing? There's the other ridiculous one that's on the reserve list. Can't think of it right now. But yeah, no reserve list on Magic Online. So those cards tend to be really cheap because, yeah, they can be printed as much as they want. So Arcades wall deck, taking it down. Arcades a strategist. Oh my God, I can't talk. Yeah, just going wide with the walls. We didn't drop a board wipe at any point. Probably should have. We had an austere command. Maybe would have thought about that a little bit differently. Probably should have did that. Oops. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm getting a little bit tired. I thank you guys for joining. Like I said, if you like what I do, comment, like, subscribe. Check out my Patreon if you're interested in that. Otherwise, thank you guys for joining, and I'll see you guys next video.